Welcome. This is Tom.
Mike.
AM.
In the PM.
And right here on the worldwide leader, Real Talk, A2DRadio.com. We are live from the BMW of Atlantic City studios. We're located in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. BMW of Atlantic City, right off exit 37 of the Parkway. Find them online, BMWofAtlanticCity.com. And we love that little mute there. You know, that's what happens professionally. You know, I'm not a professional, obviously. That's been made clear.
But you play one on TV.
I do play one on TV. Every Wednesday night, we are brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, your certified public accountant. Find them on the web, GibsonMayer.com. I'm Tom Arnone, Michael Mataraki, Sean Redden, Rob Povey on the ones and twos. A lot of football talk tonight. Listen, we're a baseball-heavy show at times, but tonight, listen, it's a day away. It's Christmas time here. I mean, we're jacked up. And part of our show that we'll get into is the Eagles' trade activity, one Howie Roseman, obviously the trade of Sam Bradford and now Eric Rowe. We'll dive into that later on in the show. My thoughts on the Eagles possibly that I mentioned on Sunday, looking at a keep to leave. We'll talk about them possibilities. Is that even possible? We'll break down his contract and see what we think we give away to maybe steal him from the Broncos. We'll get in Carson Wentz's first start against the Browns, Sunday, 1 o'clock. The kid, this is why you go up and get him. This is why you're the LA Rams now, and you go up and get baby hands. Listen, you know if the hands are small, he's not getting it done off the field in the bedroom, which is then is going to translate to a lack of success on the football field. And we saw this guy with a baby ball in college throw a lot of costly picks, a lot of costly fumbles. Listen, we'll talk about that. Carson Wentz, what do we expect out of him, the Eagles season? And we'll get into all that. Our predictions, we'll run through the schedule, and we'll let you know where we have him ending up just a few days away here. Now, the big thing at hand is nationally, right? We talked about it before the show. This isn't just local. It's also nationally. We'll give each division winner in the NFL, and we'll let you know who's going to Super Bowl 51 and who's winning Super Bowl 51. And listen to us. Get our picks. Go to Bovado. Go to Vegas. Go somewhere. Lock it in.
I'll be in Vegas next week. You know I'm going to lock it in.
Lock it in. My parents are going to be there next week. Are you kidding me? Oh, go say hello while you're down there. Give a kiss on the cheek.
Hey, Mama Arnone, how you doing?
How you doing? Listen, gentlemen, how are you?
I'm all right. Got some funky-ass feedback going on up in here right now, though.
I don't know. Just talk.
It's weird. I'm good. I may have to take a trek over to South Philly and kick the shit out of some 7th and 8th graders, but other than that, I'm good.
Well, real quick, Sean, give me 1 second. Our poll question brought to you by Scanzano Sports. Find them on the web, scanzanosports.com. Will the winner of the Super Bowl come from the AFC or NFC? Let us know. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. A2D Radio is where you can find us. Mr. Redden, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. I had 4 fantasy drafts over the weekend that I absolutely dominated. So I'm ready. I'm ready to just rack on the wins starting Sunday.
Here we go.
Don't give me that look, man.
Actually starting tomorrow night because I got Kelvin Benjamin going.
He mentions fantasy drafts, and you give me that look. Don't be hating on me snaking Spencer Ware out from under you.
Actually, you snaked like 5 players out from under me, which just shows,
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you at all. But our poll question, that is, again, brought to you by Scanzano Sports. Find on the web, scanzanosports.com. And all our division winners brought to you by the Sports Outlet, Glendora, New Jersey. Find them on the web, sportsoutletinc.com. Gentlemen, who do you have? And we'll start here, and then we'll work our way back to division winners. All right, we'll do a little switcheroo here. And then after that, we'll give our Super Bowl 51 predictions. But starting with AFC or NFC, who do you got, Mr. Mataraki?
I'm going NFC.
Going NFC, all right.
I got an NFC team as well.
Jesus Christ, you guys. You know what I mean? You throw me the curveball. I'm going to go AFC. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go AFC. Just, somebody's got to play devil's advocate here. It is Agree, Disagree Radio. And this is Tom.
Mike.
AM.
In the PM.
And we already know what station that's on if you're listening. If not, get a clue. So, You guys got NFC. I'm throwing the switch around to the AFC here. And
now, do you really want to do that, or are you just doing it for argument's sake?
Listen, I don't mind it because there's a couple teams over there that I'm a big fan of. So I'm not against it at all. I'm feeling comfortable about it.
All right.
I still think you got to have a good defense to win a championship in this league, and I think there's some teams over there that have a defense now. Can their offense live up to it? So, I'm confident. Michael?
I like it.
Well, the Broncos won the Super Bowl last year with their starting quarterback only able to throw 7 yards. So
Very true.
It ain't far-fetched for anybody.
Very true. If you can go get him, if you can go get the quarterback in this league, you're going to be successful. And we talk about it. The injury rate in the NFL is 100%. the healthiest teams are the teams that are standing up at last. Okay? I mean, there's so many teams in this league when we go over division winners and breakdowns of everything. There's so many teams that I can say 10-6 or 6-10. I mean, listen, I can go over this and give you division by division and tell you there's so many teams that can go one way or the other. Now, you take a couple pieces off certain teams, like we talked about the Arizona Cardinals. Carson Palmer goes down. That's not a good football team anymore, ladies and gentlemen.
Nope.
That became an average team. That became an 8-8, 9-7 team trying to fight to get in. Now, they play in a bad division, so maybe they could go 10-6, but they won't win the division without Carson Palmer. So, that being said, I want to go over division winners with you guys, and we'll start in the AFC, where I have Super Bowl 51's champion somewhere located in the AFC. Little radio tease for the guys. It's their first freaking time.
Somewhere.
AFC East. Now, Mr. Brady, Deflategate, somehow gets the same amount of games as one Randy Gregory beats his wife. But listen, I digress that the commissioner is a complete jackass. But AFC, who do you got, Mr. Mataraki? And why?
Suspension aside, I'm going with the New England Patriots out of the East. I don't see enough talent on the other three teams in the East to knock them off of the pedestal. I mean, Buffalo's got some guys. The Jets have some guys. Miami, I feel like they've taken a big step backwards. So, I mean, do I see the Patriots going 13-3? No, it's probably going to be more like 11-5, but I think 11-5 wins that division.
Sean?
I got the Patriots, too. I mean, I think the Jets are going to make it interesting for a little bit with their offense, but I have the Patriots going 3-1 with Jimmy G to start the year.
Oh,
and
somebody needs to call the police.
I got them losing to the Cardinals, and that's it.
You know what cracks me up about that?
Yeah.
The Patriots.
You and Wilson, you two should go freaking go in a canoe together.
Patriots are the only team in the NFL that can replace the best-looking man in the NFL with the best-looking man in the NFL.
Yeah, guess what? There's some guys replaceable in this league, and there's some guys that just aren't. And Tom Brady, you can make all the case in the world for Bill Belichick. You take Tom Brady off of that football team, that's not a 3-1 over a stretch. That might not even be a 2-2. I mean, he makes everybody better. That's what greatness does. So no, I think – to your guys' Patriots argument, I don't think they win the division.
Okay.
I think the division winner comes from the New York Jets. I look at the defensive side of the football, and they are physical on the front seven. You know, I think their secondary's good, not great. But, you know, they do have Revis. Now, besides that, I'm not in love with their secondary. But in terms of a front seven, be able to go get you, and Leonard Williams coming into his second year that I'm really high on with Muhammad Wilkerson and everybody else they have on the defense. I love the Jets' defense. And guess what? Fitzpatrick can do enough. He has weapons in Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker. Matt Forte, if he's on the field, is going to bring him another weapon, not only running but catching.
Let me jump in right there because you kind of said the magic word. I agree with everything you said about the Jets' defense. The problem is when I look at the offensive side of the ball, can Matt Forte stay on the field? Can Brandon Marshall stay on the field? Can Eric Decker stay on the field? And how motivated is Ryan Fitzpatrick after the whole offseason of we don't want you, we don't want you, we don't want you, we don't want you. Oh, shit, we need to bring you back.
Well, shit, if he's not motivated, check between your legs, babe, because, you know, I mean, that's all the reason to shove it up somebody's ass. I mean, these guys look for any goddamn reasons, like, you know, their wife not cooking the right meal on a Wednesday night like they asked for. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, Sunday they're going out with 2 picks, 1 for a touch, and they're high-stepping like Dion. So, I mean, these guys look for all little things to get them going.
Yeah,
so.
And any other quarterback, I might agree with you.
He's a smart guy, though, Michael.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is a Harvard grad. He might be the only player in the NFL that could leave football and go get another job that pays as much or more per year.
Yeah, agreed. But I think I'm not in love with Fitzpatrick. I think he does enough. But
solid.
To your point, though, I mean, there's ifs all over. And
right.
There's ifs in New England about injuries and things like that. So, you know, I'm talking straight health of football teams. I think the Jets are the most talented in this division without Brady. Now, Brady, you know, they get that 4 games is big. That 4-game swing can win the division or just being a wild card team. And I think they go 1-3 with Jimmy. And I think that puts them really behind the 8 ball. But I think when Brady comes back, I think they end up 10-6. Okay? But I got the Jets going 11-5 because I think they beat up on bad teams in that division too. I think Miami, like you said, who is the Miami Dolphins? You know, do they want to play football today? So, you know, you got that going into it. when you talk about the Bills, a big step back. They lost a lot of players.
I don't have any confidence in Todd Bowles.
I don't either, but sometimes players win.
I understand that, but I'm just saying if everything on the field is equal and you got to look at the sideline, I'm taking Belichick over Bowles every day.
Well, let me tell you, it would be the boringest radio in the freaking world if we circled the room like a circle jerk and we're all like, Patriots.
Well, yeah.
No. I love that. I'm
the
biggest Brady guy in the room.
We all hate the Patriots. So,
yeah, but I'm the biggest Brady guy in the room. In this room, I love Tom Brady. So, when he comes back, they're going to go on a roll. I have no issues with that, but I just don't think they start good. And I could be completely wrong. It's not going to be first time.
I appreciate the Jets' love, Tom.
Well, I'm here, Rob. Yeah, I'm here, and I did it for you, buddy. That's strictly why I did it. But can't disagree with the Patriots at all. Right. I mean, it's tough to disagree with. It's just, if they somehow went 0-4 in that stretch, if they got off to a really bad start, then that division is wide open. Mm-hmm. It really just depends. Guy making his first NFL career start. Who is Jimmy G? Is he Brady? Probably not.
Watch. He's going to come out. He's going to come out and throw for 5 bills.
He Brady Bledsoe's. He comes and does it to him.
Yeah.
He gets Giselle.
He win-win. He Wally Pips Brady.
Pips Brady over Deflategate. Everything Goodell wanted. Slimy bastard. AFC North. Really, I mean, you talk about, in terms of two football teams, two of the most talented football teams in all of the NFL live right over here. One, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals. Who you guys got? Mr. Mataraki, Mr. Redden?
I got the Steelers. Their defense, secondary is a little questionable. They got a good defensive line, though, solid young linebacking core. I just think that offense is too talented. You got D'Angelo Williams. They're not going to really miss Le'Veon that much. Their offense actually was better last year when D'Angelo was playing instead of Bell. But then Bell's a playmaker going to come back. You got Antonio Brown. I expect Marcus Wheaton to step up. And then, honestly, the Bengals, I think, are going to be the second-place team, but I just think Andy Dalton doesn't have enough weapons. He has A.J. Green now, and then who's their number 2? Tyler Boyd, the rookie out of Pitt. Is Eifert's hurt? You never know if he can stay on the field. Jeremy Hill was inconsistent last year. I just feel like the Steelers are too talented.
Good points.
I'm actually in the same boat. I'm going. Honestly, I'm going Steelers, but I'm going roll job.
Wow, roll job.
I'm talking like 13-3.
And where would you have the Bengals in that mix?
I probably have the Bengals at like 9-7.
9-7.
Here's the problem. I mean, to Sean's point, okay? Mohamed Sanu gone. Marvin Jones gone. Tyler Eifert on the shelf. Jeremy Hill inconsistent. You got Dalton actually coming back off of an injury. A.J. Green's banged up. The only guy on that team that I trust on the offensive side of the ball was Gio Bernard, and he's not going to put extra marks in the win column for you. So their defense is real solid. But if they get to 9 wins, it's going to be on the strength of that defense.
Well, to both your points, when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I know we go by health for this too, but there's a big question mark about Ben staying healthy. We know this injury history, but regardless of that, when I look at talent on the defensive side of the football, I don't know if there's more talented defense in this league than the Cincinnati Bengals. And we talk about defense winning, and listen, I got both these teams as a playoff team. I mean, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, they're both playoff teams. No question about it. But I think where Cincinnati's strength is Pittsburgh's weakness. Now, Pittsburgh can put it up and play with anybody because they can outscore you. But I think Cincinnati has enough offense with Dalton and A.J. Green healthy and Jeremy Hill and Bernard to be able to score enough against bad defenses like the Steelers. So I'm going to go Bengals 11-5, and I got Pittsburgh 10-6. I got them both in.
All right.
And so just a little change it up, we can't.
Nothing wrong with that.
You go AFC South.
This is the AFC's version of the NFC East. This is going to be the parity division. I think these teams are going to be bunched real close. I am going with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I like it.
Blake Bortles, Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns, a bunch of different guys in the backfield that can tote the rock. I think Jacksonville wins this division at 9-7.
I'm a huge fan of the Texans, but at the end of the day, I think defense gets it done. And I'm a big fan of the Jaguars. At the end of the day, defense gets it done. I got the Houston Texans winning this division. J.J. Watt isn't missing a single game. They said he's playing week 1. Jadeveon Clowney's finally healthy. For how long, who the hell knows. But the offense got a hell of a lot better with Brock Osweiler, Lamar Miller. Will Fuller's going to stretch the field.
Hold on a second. their offense got a hell of a lot better with Brock Osweiler.
Well,
And
so
Lamar Miller.
then
And
Brian,
Will Fuller.
Brian Hoyer.
You lose Arian
True.
Foster.
Ryan Mallett.
Lamar Miller's better than
Where
Foster.
did Brock Osweiler set the world on fire last year?
I'm basing it off the fact that
You're basing it off the fact that he's got
they had Brian
six
Hoyer.
zeros on his contract.
they had Brian Hoyer last year. But I'm a huge fan of I have the Jaguars actually in as a wild card this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I got Houston Texans as well. I think you went on defense side of the football. And to your point, Sean, one Clowney. If Clowney's healthy, write down 14.5. You got a piece of paper, write it down right now because that's what's going to happen because he's going to get a lot of one-on-ones with Watt on the field.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be real disruptive. We talk about front fours
And they
winning.
still got Will for it.
Yeah, we talk about front fours winning, and Houston's loaded up there. And I'm not a big Brock Osweiler guy. I am a big DeAndre Hopkins guy. I like Lamar Miller more than Arian Foster just because of health reasons. I mean, the guy's on the field. I like Will Fuller a lot. I think he brings a lot as a number 2.
And Braxton Miller's a game changer, too.
Yeah, and Jalen Strong, a red zone target. I mean, so he has some good weapons, and I like Bill O'Brien at the end of the day. I think he's a smart offensive guy. I think he puts his quarterbacks in good positions to succeed. And when you have a good defense like they do, I like the Houston Texans. But, again, I had Jacksonville in as a wild card, too.
Okay.
Maybe. No. I don't. Because you can't know how many wild cards we're going to freaking have here.
You have 2.
Yeah, so we can't do that.
Jaguars are one of my 2.
So they got pitted as one. So, okay, we go to the AFC West, gentlemen.
AFC West, I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning that division. The Broncos offense going to take a huge step back. Trevor Seaman or Simeon, whatever the hell you say it.
You might as well be Seaman.
Yeah, who cares how you say it? But the Chiefs, you got Alex Smith, Jeremy Maclin, Travis. There's too much talent. Spencer Ware, Jamal Charles, and I think the Raiders are going to keep it close, make them earn it, and I have the Raiders in. That's my second wild card team.
Nice. Let me just cut something out here. Jacksonville, I don't have Jacksonville in. Not that I don't think they're good enough to get in, but they're really young too. I mean, really young. And on the opposite side of the ball, they're gaining experience, but defensively, really young. So that's what's going to win it for them at the end of the day. And that's where they need to make that next step. So depending on how good their defense is, that's the only thing keeping them out.
I like Gus.
I like Gus too.
Could have been the Eagles coach.
Whatever.
AFC West, I'm going with the Oakland Raiders. I love Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr this year, I think you're going to see a huge, huge jump out of him. I think you could be looking 30 to 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions or less, a ton of yards. He's got the weapons. I mean, he's got 3 real strong wide receivers. He's got a tight end who's ready to break out, 2 guys in the backfield that can tote the rock. And the most important thing is an offensive line that last year was real good at pass blocking is now just real good, period. So the threat of Latavius Murray and DeAndre Washington coming out of the backfield, I think is going to keep defenses honest. And if Carr takes that next step from year 2 to year 3, the way most quarterbacks do, he's going to be off the charts.
Yeah, I agree. I have the Raiders in as a wild card. I have Kansas City winning division just because they're just loaded defensively.
See, I'm flipped with that. I got Kansas City as the wild card.
Yeah, so I mean we're all right there. So and I got we talk about defensively they're loaded. Alex Smith gets enough done, but a big factor is going to be Jamal Charles. So I mean that's something to really pay attention to.
They already said isn't probably going to play week 1.
Yeah, so it's something you got to take keep an eye on because if he's not healthy, it's I understand Spencer Ware and West do a good job when he's out, but he is a game changer that you need.
So going back through the AFC, we all got our division winners.
Well, we're not breaking down.
No, but I'm just saying, who are your 2 wild cards?
It was Oakland and Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Wait, no, I can't be right. No, because I have too many wild cards.
No, because you pulled Jacksonville.
Yeah, you pulled Jacksonville.
Pulled Jacksonville, but I had New England in as a wild card. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
They're all making it.
It doesn't matter. I'm caring about who goes to the dance.
All right.
And I got Oakland and Jacksonville. That's my wild cards.
I have Kansas City and
that's the parity, though. You understand? That's the parity talking.
I have Kansas City and Cincinnati as my wild cards.
Because I could have just gave you 4 wild cards from each division. I could have gave you a wild card from each freaking division. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. There's so much parity. And listen, my picks tonight have switched since Sunday. So I mean, there's no.
Right.
Yeah, they change. Your picks change because things change. Situations change in the game. But Moving on to the NFC, we'll go with the West first.
Yeah, I was saying, let's work backwards on that one.
Go to the NFC West.
I am going, and you kind of already alluded to a little bit with Carson Palmer. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. And this is another situation similar to Pittsburgh. I feel like if Carson Palmer stays healthy, this is a roll job by them. If he doesn't stay healthy, it's the same thing with Roethlisberger. The one position that neither of these teams has depth at is quarterback. Pittsburgh loses Roethlisberger, they're done. Arizona loses Palmer, they're done.
You think it's a roll job?
I think it's a roll job. I'm going 12-4 for the Cardinals.
I mean, I got the Cardinals winning the division too, but I wouldn't say it's a roll job. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks are still in that division. I mean, I got the Cardinals. Offense is super talented. Defense was one of the tops in the league last year. Added Chandler Jones, drafted Robert Nkemdiche. That's going to be a really tough team to beat, like Mike said. As long as Palmer's healthy, I think they get it done in the West.
Yeah, I don't. I think I got them in as a wild card. I got Seattle winning this division. Yeah, I just like them too much across the board. And across the board, I think they're just too solid, and they get it done. I mean, as much as I'm not like Mr. Russell Wilson, he's the kind of guy who just gets it done now. Mm-hmm. And them kind of guys win. He can move the pocket, and there's so much he brings to the table that, stress defenses out. I just think they're the team to beat until somebody beats them. Really? Until Arizona goes further than them in the playoffs, they're the team to beat.
I just think Seattle's got more. I think they have more issues than we really know about.
Yeah, but when I roll a secondary out like that, I'm happy.
And that's fine. I think they're still stinging over, Jimmy Graham not being Jimmy Graham.
Well, we don't know if he's going to be Jimmy Graham.
Marshawn Lynch gone, and obviously they have Thomas Rawls, but who knows how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, we know that.
I mean, I have Seattle as a wild card. I'm not, pooing on them.
Yeah, they're one of my wild
I just feel like the Cardinals are just way too strong.
Nah, that's fine. NFC South?
Now, this is a roll job. The Carolina Panthers going to run through this division, and I think the second-place team is honestly going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I don't think it's quite close. I think Carolina wins that by 4 or 5 games, and the Buccaneers fall short of a wild card.
Can I please go?
You can go.
No, go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead.
You got Carolina?
No.
I don't either.
Who do you got?
I got Tampa Bay.
So do I.
All right, nice. How are you?
Great minds.
Again, when you lose,
Tagging up on it.
when you lose,
That's fine.
when you lose a Super Bowl,
Somebody's got to be
We'll
right.
put him through a table.
when you lose a Super Bowl, I feel like you take a step back. Now, I know they got Kelvin Benjamin back, but I just not in love with that offense as a whole. I think they take a step back, and I don't even have them making the playoffs.
Look, there's only been 2 teams in NFL history that have lost the Super Bowl and come back to win it the next year, and the last time it happened was 1978.
Listen, you want to talk about parity in the NFL? I don't have either team that was in Super Bowl 50 making the playoffs this year. And it's not a disrespect to Cam. I just think it's hard to bounce back, not as much for Denver if they had a legit quarterback, as it is for Carolina. It's just tough to bounce back. Now, next year, I got them as a playoff team. You know what I mean? It's just this year, I just think they take that Super Bowl hangover that we've seen so many times, and I could be completely wrong. But that's where I have Tampa Bay. I think Winston takes a big step forward.
Oh, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Winston. I've been snagging him late in every fantasy draft I had. I mean, you throw in the Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans, you should put up numbers.
Yeah.
And you got Doug Martin in the backfield, Charles Sims. My only problem with Tampa Bay is I don't think that defense is ready yet.
They're close. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if they're completely ready, but I'm hoping.
Well, I think this is grow-up season for the defense.
And I think this is grow-up season for Winston, too.
And his first-year head coach, too, and Cotter down there.
Yeah, when you, if this kid takes over and plays like we think he can play, that rises the level around. And that's what I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking about that it's a weak division, essentially, and they can beat up on some teams in here. And like I said, the only reason I don't have Carolina because we can't have everybody making the playoffs. But there's so many teams we talk about, like we started the show, 10-6, 6-10. I mean, you can really go over Atlanta Falcons. I mean, that's a team that can be 10-6. They can be 6-10. They can be 10-6. I don't think they're gonna be, but they're that kind of team. Well, and I think you can say for every team that we're running through, for the most part.
Here's the thing with that division. You look, I mean, can you rightfully say that Cam Newton is gonna come back with 45 touchdowns again this year between rushing and throwing the ball? He himself responsible for 45 touchdowns. That's an astronomical number for a quarterback who's not known for his passing, and it's way too hard to repeat. He's going to be lucky if he gets to 32.
Yeah, it's a step back. It's nothing to do with Josh Norman either in my eyes because I'm not in love with him.
No,
So,
I don't really think they're going to miss him all that much.
No, they'll rebound from his loss.
The interesting thing to me about that division is I think if you look at the two games where Tampa Bay and Carolina match up against each other, I think both of those games are going to be street fights. Mm-hmm. But every other game within that division could just be an outright shootout because the Falcons and the Saints, and maybe it's the fact that they're like the dome teams, and they're both just real pass happy. I mean, you got Atlanta with Julio, New Orleans with Brandon Cooks, Drew Brees just signed the new deal. I mean, there's going to be a lot of points put up in that division. It's just not going to happen in the games between the Panthers and the Bucs.
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't disagree. Moving on, NFC North.
NFC North.
It's a tough one because I was actually on board with Minnesota before Teddy B got hurt.
Yeah.
Now I think I got to go Green Bay. And it's not because I dislike Sam Bradford. I just think him going to that situation 8 days before the season starts puts them in a little bit of a hole. And I could very easily see them starting 1-3, 2-4, maybe even 2-5 before he's finally comfortable with the offense.
Yeah, I have no issues with that.
Now, if Bridgewater is out for 2 years, the way they're saying that he could be, and you get Bradford for this year and next year, then I think we could see some things in Minnesota. But for right now, I'm going Green Bay. I think the Bears are going to be awful.
Oh, yeah.
The Bears could be the worst team in the NFC. And Detroit's interesting because I feel like Stafford's got enough weapons. I mean, obviously, you lose Calvin Johnson. You're not going to replace him with Marvin Jones and the other guys that they brought in. And I like Golden Tate, but you still lost Calvin Johnson. And at the end of the day, Matt Stafford is still Matt Stafford. He's an interception waiting to happen.
Yeah, I've always liked Matt Stafford, but yeah. You're right.
See, I'm like Mike. I was on board with Minnesota. Bridgewater went down. Then that trade happened Saturday. I'm back on board with Minnesota. I think they're going to win this division. Packers are my wild card team. Them and the Seahawks. I caught a lot of heat on Twitter for this over the weekend. The Vikings will be better with Sam Bradford at quarterback than they would have been with Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, here goes the if game. I don't.
Wait. Are you talking long term?
This season.
All right. How did you have them winning the division with Bridgewater? You don't have them winning the division with Bradford, but you think they're going to be
I have
better.
them winning the division.
You do have them winning.
You went back.
All right, you went back. Okay.
I jumped off
in.
ship, and then after that trade,
you
I was
lost me
back
for
on.
a second there.
Back
Wait a
on.
minute. How the hell did that happen?
Just when he thought he was out, they pulled
Brought
him
him
right
back
back in.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, go ahead. My bad.
Nah, you're all good. I mean, Bradford's not going to be asked to do a whole lot. You got a good offensive line, handing the ball to AP probably 30 times a game, and a guy who jumped. I keep bringing fantasy football up into this. I feel like I'm on Rob's show now, fantasy dominance. But I think Laquan Treadwell is going to have a big year now. Big receiver. I think he's a more talented Jordan Matthews. He's going to be He's going to eat this year.
I'm going to the other side. I actually think the big jump comes from Stephon Diggs. In fact, I think had Bridgewater not gone down, you could have seen Diggs become a top 10 wide receiver in this league. With Bradford, it might be a little different, but who knows? We'll see. The thing is with them, this goes back now to the days when they had a young Randy Moss and a young Chris Carter, and they had Jake Reed in the mix. They could be set up for years at wide receiver.
Yeah, they got a boatload of talent out there.
I've been back and forth with this. I mean, I love Minnesota's roster. It's one of the best in football. Defense side of football, you have to love it. But I just don't know how much I trust him. I trusted him here to win a division if he was healthy. I'm going to say the same thing there, that if Bradford's healthy, I think Minnesota's the team to beat. But with that unknown and moving that situation so quick and getting off to a slow start, I'm going to switch to Green Bay now. I still have Minnesota in. I hope they don't get in. I hope he gets hurt again. And
3-13.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking
for.
That's what we're looking for.
We want that top 5 draft pick.
So, I mean, I just have Green Bay winning because of Aaron Rodgers. If you have Aaron Rodgers, you're, in a division, you're the best team in that division because of Aaron Rodgers. And until Minnesota decides to change that, I'm going to stick with the Green Bay Packers.
Question for you.
But I love Minnesota. Not as much now, but I do love them.
I hear what you're saying. It just, when you're talking about Rodgers, if you were starting a team today, taking into consideration age, health, experience, all that stuff, and you were given a choice between Rodgers and Brady to build your team around, who do you take?
Taking Rodgers right now.
Yeah, I'm taking Rodgers,
So
too.
am I.
Because,
it's just because of the age factor.
Yeah, and just because, Brady can too, but there's not a throw Rodgers can't make.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, from different angles, from everywhere, on the run. I mean, that's special. And, I hate, comparing, but I'm going to compare throws. If you look at, and we'll get into this later in the show, but if you look at, the Wentz rollout where he had pressure and he rolled out and he threw BB to the sideline, that's a Rodgers-type throw. Mm-hmm. That's a big-time, big-leg arm to make that kind of throw.
That's a fastball.
Yeah, and that's what excites me because the greats can make every throw on the field. All right, and in a draft where I'm not in love with either one of the quarterbacks, overly in love, I think we might win out on that. But moving forward, moving to the NFC East.
Or least, as the case may be. You go first, man.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fine. All right, well, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go with the best roster in the division. And it's real simple. I think Washington takes a step back. I'm not in love with Kirk Cousins. I'm not in love with their defense. I'm not overly in love with anything about the Washington Redskins. They're okay to me.
You don't like that?
I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not sold on him. Now, betting on yourself could work out for him or it could be the biggest mistake of his life. We'll find out this year. But I think the Washington Redskins take a step back. You look at the New York Giants, not good enough defensively. You overpaid for 2 positions that you needed. One Janoris Jenkins where you overpaid, and one Vernon. That's a big-time overpay for a guy who played alongside Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh. You're paying for a guy who had 7 sacks in that kind of playing against with them guys. You should walk into 8 or 9 or 10. You should walk in at least 9 when you're on a line with them kind of guys. So I'm not in love with either one of their signings. We know what Eli Manning is. He can come out and throw 40, but he also can throw 25 interceptions, and that's what kills the New York Giants. Again, Beckham to me is a really talented wide receiver, but I'm not still overly in love with the guy as a complete route runner in this league, or a guy who doesn't check out at times. So, does he make great plays, and you can't deny that? But he's a guy that I'm not sold on completely with that team. He's not going to make you 10-6 by himself. I don't think they're strong enough down all across the board. I think New York Giants. They just don't fill the board up. Now you go to the Dallas Cowboys and you want to talk about the offensive side of the football and the offensive line. Well, we're talking about one of the best in football. I get that. You got a rookie running back that you just don't know. Now I think he's talented. There's no question about it. He's talented. But then you also combine that with a rookie quarterback. Well, that's a lot of rookies in one spot. Now, granted, the line's good. Now, all that being said, if they had a good defense, I would still like their chances with Dez. But their defense is bad, and they're not good enough to keep a young team offensively in ball games. So it's really, Dak can come out and do a lot of great things. But Tony always had to throw it, always had to be, 35-33. He always had to, be a shootout. And I don't know if a kid can come in off the bat and turn it into a shootout. So I don't have them winning the division. That's where it takes me to the Philadelphia Eagles, the most talented roster in this division. Maybe, top 5 front 7 in football. There's arguments that they're,
they're the best. I think they're the best D-line.
Yeah, there's arguments that they have one of the best front 7s in the league. So you look at that. You look at Pro Football Focus that I mentioned numerous times, having them as top 5 roster in the league. Now, that was with Bradford. But I love the defense. I really do. And offensively, I think that there's a talent there. Now Lane Johnson's a big factor in this, but I have him playing. So when I factor all that kind of stuff in, I think the kid, we talk about throwing the fastball, I think the offense changes now because when you can move in the pocket and extend plays, that's how, as a rookie, you can win in this league. You look at Robert Griffin, you look at Russell Wilson, you look at Andrew Luck, guys who came in, all right, that can move the pocket, extend plays. And rookies aren't going to go through 4 reads. Okay, they're going to go through 1, 2, and then they got to make moves. And I think that helps Carson Wentz. And I think the West Coast offense helps Carson Wentz. I think having two coaches that are former quarterbacks helps Carson Wentz. And you're talking about two guys, and Wentz and Frank Reich, who've been around a lot of great quarterbacks. And if they think he's ready and they're willing to trade Bradford, I told you from day one I'd play him. Mm-hmm. And here we go. So that's why I had the Philadelphia Eagles at 10-6 winning the division, because of the defensive side of the football. And I think there's talent offensively that they can make plays. I think they beat up on this division. I really do. I think the kid comes in and slings it. The kid's got the whole thing. He's got the whole package when I listen to him. And I don't get sold on what you do off the field, but from the little bit of sample size that I saw, that kid can play in this league. And that's a small sample size, but he can make the throws. Now, is he going to? Now, the question mark here. He can't throw 20 picks. Do you understand this? Then they're not winning the division. So, but I think that's where Doug Peterson and Frank Wright put him in a really good situation, and a lot of play action, a lot of move in the pocket like we talk about. And I think they somehow get to 10-6, going 5-1 in the division. That's where I have it. I think they roll through it. The division stinks, and we might stink too. But everybody in the division could be 6-10 or 10-6 again. Go ahead, guys. That was a long one, but that's the breakdown. If you got more, please share.
Mr. Redden?
I think the way you figure out who's going to win this division is you put all their names in a hat, pull one out, and that's your division winner for the year. All these teams are so close, aside from the Cowboys. I don't think you're going to, because like you said, the defense is almost non-existent. You got one proven player in Sean Lee who's hurt every other day.
He's got a concussion right now.
Yeah.
He walked into his fridge.
Yeah, he's hurt every other day, and you're not going to win shootouts with two rookies leading the way in Elliott and Dak Prescott. And then with the Eagles, one guy you're leaving out is John DeFilippo, quarterbacks coach, does wonders. This guy was getting job offers as offensive coordinators this offseason and was getting interviews for head coaching job, and he chose to come here and be the quarterbacks coach. The Eagles got such three good minds, and all that into account, I think the Eagles will contend for this division. But if you're asking me to pick a winner right now, I'm leaning towards the New York Giants just based on Eli, Sterling Shepard, Odell, and a healthy Victor Cruz. And their defense, I agree, they overpaid monstrously for that defense, but I don't think they're going to ask their defense to do that much because they have so much firepower on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think their defense is going to have to win them games.
You still got a turnover machine at quarterback, though.
That is true.
He puts his team in bad spots.
I said, if you ask me tomorrow, I might have another prediction.
Me
this
too.
division is so close.
It could be anybody. That's the crazy thing.
I knew I should have gone before him. Son of a bitch. You know, you basically just took every word out of my mouth. I mean, when I look at the Eagles, I've said this on social media several times over the past couple weeks. I think they have a top 5 defense in the NFL. And I love Carson Wentz. Kid can make all the throws. He's smart. He's got that feel like he could really be something special. Problem is there's not another piece on this offense that I love. Jordan Matthews, nice player. Zach Ertz, nice player. I don't like any of our running backs. I mean, they're serviceable, but I don't see an 800, 900-yard rusher there. Ryan Matthews is not going to stay healthy. Kenyon Barner has fumble problems. Sproles is Sproles. I mean, DGB has to prove it. Aguilar has to get it together. To me, there are just so many question marks on the offensive side of the ball that I can't put my eggs in that basket. For as much as I want to, I just can't. So then I have to look elsewhere in the division. Dallas sucks. Sean Lee gets out of bed and he twists his knee and he's out 3 weeks. Yeah. I mean, Dallas is just brutal. The Redskins, I think last year they were pretenders. I think Kirk Cousins is a nice quarterback. Do I think he's as good as he was last year? No. Do I think he's as bad as others think he's going to be? People think that the whole thing's going to flip on him. I don't think he's going to do a 180 either. He's a nice player. Jordan Reed, can he stay healthy? Who knows? Can Deshaun stay healthy? Who knows? Matt Jones is already banged up. Rob Kelly, nice player, still has to get on the field to prove it. So the Redskins aren't moving the needle for me. I look at the Giants. Tommy, to your point, Eli, if he cannot turn the ball over, I mean, if he can throw 28 touchdowns and keep the interceptions under 12 to 14, I just think the Giants are going to outscore everyone. I mean, you got Beckham, you got Sterling Shepard, You got a healthy, presumably healthy Victor Cruz. You got Will Tye at tight end. You got Rashad Jennings out of the backfield. You got Shane Vereen out of the backfield. And the thing that I actually like about these two guys is that neither of them is a spectacular back on their own. But when you put the combination together, you've got the real nice runner in Jennings, the real good receiver in Vereen. Neither of those guys put the ball on the ground. So you got to figure that if Eli can just limit the turnovers, they're going to be in real good shape.
Well, let me come back with this real quick.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that you don't love like the rest of our offense, and I agree with that. But did you love Seattle's offense when Russell Wilson took over? Did you love Indy's offense when Andrew Luck took over? Were you in love with Washington's offense when RG3 took over? So just the other side of that is that if this kid can play, you're going to start liking pieces of this offense quicker than we thought.
I can't see them getting to 10-6 though.
You can get to 10-6 by winning 5 in your division.
I can't see them winning 5 in the division.
If you have them as a top 5 defense in football, they better be freaking 10-6, right? I mean, top 5 defenses in this league go 10-6. You can write that down. I mean, if they're top 5, they're 10-6. They're in a listen. Any other division, they're not 10-6. Yep. You get where my head's at? This division's so bad, and when you talk about talented rosters, there's not a better an overall talent than the Eagles. They have talent on offense. We can't say they don't. I'm not in love with anybody, but Jordan Matthews is talented. Again, Josh Huff can make different kind of plays. Ryan Matthews, when he's on the field, is talented. Darren Sproles is talented. So there's not guys who can't make plays on the offensive side of the football. But when you combine that with a front seven who can come get you, and you're talking about the second best safety tandem in all football, that equals success. You're just making the kid at the beginning. If they opened up against tough teams, I completely agree with them not winning this division. But when you can open up with the Cleveland Browns and the Chicago Bears, probably two of the bottom teams in this league, and this kid can get his feet wet, that's equal success to me. Win or lose them games, then obviously they won't go 10-6. But either way, it's going to help him not getting thrown into the fire against big-time teams in this league. And if they go to 2-0, what happens with the confidence level? It goes up with him. And I just think he's in a really good situation that not a lot of rookies are in. And the rookies that are in these kind of situations are the ones that are successful. You look at Seattle defense back when Russell Wilson got there, you weren't crowning.
No.
We weren't crowning. They built it up, and they became a top 5, top 3, if not the best at different points defense in this league. Now, are the Eagles have the capability of that? No, because we don't have that shutdown corner. So, no, I'm not going to say that. But top 5, yeah. And top 5 gets you in the dance.
But
top 5, you're walking up the Art Museum steps.
I
disagree.
and you're in the playoffs. I'm going to tell you why. It's because when we talked about this last week, I told you I was up to 9-7. That was as far as I would go, and that was with Bradford. And what I said was the defense was so strong they were going to win a lot of, 12-9, 14-9, 17-10 type of games. Let's not forget, the way that you get to be a top 5 defense in the league is not necessarily by not allowing points or not, or going out and getting sacks, turnovers, stuff like that. All you got to do is just keep your opponent between the 30s, basically. So where I'm going with this is, if I saw them winning a lot of very low-scoring, tight games with Sam Bradford as the quarterback, I got to take 2 steps back and give Carson Wentz the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what? He's a rookie. There's going to be a couple games where he makes a mistake or he doesn't put his guy in the right position or just something fluky happens and he can't address it before it happens.
Why?
It's just,
it's not guaranteed, though.
No, it's not guaranteed.
Listen, the kids who come to you now, so do you like the kid or don't you? Because if you like the kid, there's no reason he can't come in and be good right off the bat. Listen, this is what listen, that's the thing. Then he's not good enough. I'm going to lose my shit. If you don't think he's good enough right now, he might never be good enough in this league. Listen, success a lot of times happens quick anymore. This isn't the 80s, babe. You go up to 2 and draft a quarterback, and he can't play right away. Guess what? He ain't the goddamn guy then. Then you should have taken the gas mask, or you should have taken freaking Jalen Ramsey. It's that simple.
Because Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota were both crowned last year, right?
Well, Jameis Winston sure as hell had a good rookie year.
Well,
he didn't have the talent around him.
And what were the records?
Hey, look at that defense last year. That defense wasn't good enough last year. They had a bit. Listen, Lovie Smith was out the door already. Okay, they didn't have a good enough defense, and guys got hurt offensively for them in terms of Vincent Jackson. So it was Mike Evans and Doug Martin. They put up points with Jameis Winston last year. They just didn't have a defense to support him. But Mariota got hurt, so how's that argument come into play?
Well, I'm just saying.
The Tennessee Titans flat out freaking stink, and we're comparing rosters.
Well,
Compare rosters
we're not
with
comparing
me.
rosters.
Compare
you're
rosters
sitting
with
there
me.
And you're saying because he's number two pick overall, and if he was good enough to be the number 2 pick overall, you're putting him in at 10-6. What are you smoking?
No, I'm not smoking nothing, Michael. It's the fact of the matter. Listen,
it's a homer pick.
Is it?
It's a homer pick.
Okay, what did Andrew Luck do his rookie year?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It's
talk about that it's been done. Guys can do it. And you missing my whole point from the beginning. What did I say from the beginning? Real plain and simple.
You said there's
when
a lot
you
of
can move the
ifs.
pocket as a young quarterback and you have a supporting defense, you can win games in this league. This division flat out stinks. That's the only reason 10-6. We can talk homerism. We can talk whatever you want. But it ain't homerism when everybody else around the country says this is a freaking top 7 roster in all football. That's not homerism. You're asking a kid, if the kid can play, he can play right now. He doesn't need freaking 5 years. Again, this isn't the 1980s and 1990s of football. You draft a guy high, and you go up to get a quarterback or any player. If they're good enough, they come in and play, especially you have the roster.
That's the thing is, I don't have any argument with him playing. I think he should have started from day one anyway.
I know you do.
What I'm saying to you,
you don't trust him.
I do trust him. I don't trust the pieces around him.
If you trust him, brother, it all starts with the quarterback. If you trust him, trust me then. If you trust him, then he's going to bring up the town around him. Guys, this is what, listen, number 2 picks of the draft, if you're legit, you are a good enough player where you bring up talent around you. Rookie or not, Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson and RG3, say what you want about them now, but them years when they were rookies and Flacco, they brought up talent around them. Listen, Elway, Marino. I mean, there's guys who were, and that goes back, which usually guys didn't play right away, depending on where they were, first-round picks. But, I mean, I'm telling you, the list goes on in terms of rookies that made the playoffs. And when you look at the list and you really look at it, RG3, Luck, Wilson, Sanchez.
I just don't understand.
Flacco. When you look at them guys, what did they have? What's all in common here?
Defense.
What's all in common? What's the common theme of these
matter.
teams? How does that not matter? That's trends. God damn it, then we should stop ever studying sports then. That's a trend. That's a recent trend, God damn it.
How could you sit here last week with Sam Bradford?
Because I don't love him. I don't. I like him when he's healthy.
Let me ask you a question then.
I still had him winning the division. What are we talking about? I had him 11-5.
That's what I'm saying is, how could you sit here last week and have them at 11-5, 10-6, and they pull Bradford? Bradford's gone, and you're going to Wentz, and you don't have them moving.
Why?
At all.
If this guy is who you go up and get, why should I not have confidence in him being able to play? This is what you're missing. This isn't a project. Why does everybody need to be a project? Why do we baby athletes in this fucking city? You go up to 2. You go up to 2. That guy better be able to play right away.
Because when
do we nurse? When do we put him on our team and say, "Hey, suck on my goddamn tee and grow as a man"? No, damn it, no, Michael, no. When you go up high, they better be able to play. It is a crock of shit and a travesty that the Los Angeles Rams are not starting Jared Goff. Which means, guess what? You butchered the goddamn pick. Damn it! When you draft high in the NFL or the NBA, they better be able to play.
All right, are you done yelling?
It's real talk. I just educate the goddamn public who actually believe some of the things you were saying when you say you trust them but not good enough. So where do you stand with him? You're in the middle. You have not gave me a straight argument on terms of how you feel about Carson Wentz.
You shut the fuck up. I'm
not going to shut the fuck up because I own the whole thing. So what I'll do is I'll mute Muggs and continue to talk. So don't ever tell me to shut the fuck up, but time's yours. Andy Reid.
Where did Andy Reid come from?
Good, Don, go ahead.
What I'm saying to you is, do I think he's good enough? Yeah, I think he's good enough. But the thing is, you got to look at a body of work. You're pulling a couple of examples. You got Russell Wilson and Andrew Luck. And what I'm trying to tell you is RG3. I don't disagree with those examples, okay?
Mark Sanchez.
Right. But
I'm just going to keep going. You want me to keep going?
Go ahead, keep going.
I'm just giving you a list of examples of good defenses.
Right, but what I'm saying to you is, if you look over the entire course of, go back 30 years, you look at the number of quarterbacks that were picked top 3, how many of them were bust versus successful? Now, hold on. I'm not telling you Carson Wentz is going to be a bust because I don't think he is. I love the kid. I just don't think he's necessarily in the best position to succeed with this team right now.
Well, most number 2 picks aren't because their rosters aren't as good as this one is.
Exactly.
What are we talking about exactly? I just made the point.
This roster, no.
This roster isn't good?
The defensive side of the ball.
That's a roster, Mike. You can't take.
It's not a roster. It's
what are you talking about?
It's half a roster.
Oh, my God. Teams that won championships because of great defenses. What are you smoking now? Hop on the wagon. The examples I have given you are not bad examples.
I'm not saying they are. What I'm saying to you is,
you called me a homer when I said this division flat out freaking stinks. We all agree with that.
No, I called you a homer because you got them at 10-6, 11-5.
I don't have an 11-5 anymore. I said they're 10-6. 11-5 was last week with Sam Bradford. I have not wavered on this football team. I think the kid can play. If you go up and take him, he better be able to play. Did I want him when they took him? No, you know who I wanted. I wanted Gas Mask or I wanted Jalen Ramsey, and I'm not going to waver from that decision.
I love that you still call him Gas Mask.
But at the end of the decision, at the end of the day, so everybody knows, we love each other.
Yeah, we're all sitting here with smiles on our faces.
But we get geeked up because this shit's fun. This shit's freaking a good time because there's nobody's saying you're wrong.
Oh, I know.
And I'm yelling because I'm passionate that I hope this kid can freaking play. Because, Sean, am I right? If he's drafted 2, you better be able to come in and start in this league. Because if you're behind already, when are you ever going to catch up? This isn't the old days. And listen, Jared Goff has a bad situation in L.A. if he started, too. We know that. That team's not good enough. But this isn't a number 2 pick at a draft type team here.
Go back to that situation for 1 second when you're talking about L.A. Is that team even going to succeed there? Like seriously, like they're talking. I was just listening to the radio today on NFL Network Radio, and we'll come back to the Wentz thing in a second. Dude, they don't even their ratings for preseason games. They are getting better ratings out of St. Louis than they are out of Los Angeles.
They followed them.
Yeah, nobody in Los Angeles cares about this team.
Nobody in Los Angeles cares about shit.
That's true. You get the number 1 pick overall. And, Tommy, going to your point, maybe the kid should be playing because he'll put asses in the seats in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't
play. Who knows? But
I think that's the only reason they drafted him was to sell tickets. Because I think if they're still in St. Louis this year, Carson Wentz is on the Rams. Ooh. I really believe they drafted a California kid knowing they're going to L.A. to sell tickets.
Yeah, no, I
which is what the Jacksonville Jaguars should have done.
It's a great point.
Well, to your point, right? It goes back to our whole argument of 10-6 and or yelling and screaming. To your point, if he's the best QB in this draft, and you're thinking every draft there's one, right, who's a legitimate starter in this league.
There has to be.
Yeah,
somewhere.
so if he's the guy in this draft, he can play right now. That's all my point is. Maybe it takes some time. Nobody really knows until we see him play. But at the end of the day, we've seen examples of it being possible. So, yes, as a diehard Eagles fan, I'm going to go on a limb in a bad division and just say, hey, they can win it at 10-6. They might be able to win it at 9-7. That's the crazy thing. It's bad. This wasn't even our Wentz talk either.
No, we're almost at 10 o'clock. We might as well just roll right through the Wentz talk, too. But.
Well, hold on. This whole segment brought to you by our Wednesday night sponsors, Gibson Mayer LLC. He loves us yelling and screaming at each other, and you can find them on the web, GibsonMayer.com.
I got to get him in here for his show because he'd be awesome.
He would be awesome. And our poll question, if you're just joining us, because we're just going to freaking go commercial-free tonight and have a little fun with everybody. But our poll question, brought to you by Scanzano Sports. Find them on the web, scanzanosports.com. Will the winner of Super Bowl 51 come out of the AFC or NFC? Let us know. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. A2D Radio is where you can find us.
But you guys were all fired up. Just to add my 2 pennies into that whole argument.
I almost had a cardiac arrest on it. I really feel like my heart's coming out of my chest.
I'm in complete agreement with Tom. I said I have the Giants winning the division just because I think that offense is too good. I, like Tom, had the Eagles 11-5 the other day only because I had Sean Hill penciled in as the quarterback of the Vikings. Now that Bradford's out there, I have that now as a loss, and I have the Eagles still sitting at 10-6 because I don't see any difference to me of what Sam Bradford could do for you to what Carson Wentz's floor is. And I don't really see a difference.
I think we all agree that we like Sam Bradford, right? I mean, we all sat here and said we liked him. Nobody was overly in love with him like Mikey Klinkoff tries to break my balls about. I was never in love with the guy ever. I thought he was good enough when he was healthy. But that's the big thing. The guy hasn't played a full season. So, I can't trust that. I had a 10-6. I had him 11-5. If Bradford played all 16.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable about Carson Wentz, even though he's been beat up before, playing a full 16 than I do with Sam Bradford.
No,
That's why I don't
would agree
waver
with
much.
that.
That's why I don't waver much, because if it's Chase Daniel, then yes, this is a bad football team.
2-14.
You know what I'm saying? Then I'm right with you.
I agree with that. What I'm seeing out of Carson Wentz, my bold prediction maybe is I think what you're going to see is a guy out there who's busting his ass and doing a good job, but what you're going to see is a lot of late fourth quarter, Eagles trailing 14-10. He's moving the ball up the field, and he just feels like the defense has kept the game so close, he's got to make a play. And if anything, what's going to happen, he's going to be over-aggressive. He's going to force some throws, maybe throw some interceptions in the red zone or in the end zone, maybe tries to do it himself, running the ball, doesn't tuck it away, fumble.
Maybe he doesn't.
Right, maybe he doesn't. But where I'm going with this is I'm giving the kid a year to learn how to be an NFL quarterback.
I completely and totally get that.
Right.
Respect it. Understand it.
And I respect your point, too. I just think it's a homer point. That's all.
That's the thing I'm trying to say. It is, but it isn't, though. Because I just strictly look at the roster and say, well, it's one thing. Listen, if he was a guy who was a statue, then no. You know what I mean? If he had all the same talent but he couldn't move, then I say no. But because you can extend, he's gonna make Zach Ertz look better because he can extend plays. He's gonna make Jordan Matthews look better because he can extend plays. Aguilar, he can try to make him look better, but the point is when you can move around the pocket, you're gonna make some plays. Now, is it?
See, now I think you're onto something there, but I'm actually looking at it from the other side. So I actually think for as many stats as Jordan Matthews has put up in the last couple of years, you want to know if this guy's a player, you do it with a rookie quarterback. You get yourself open. You give him a good target. You make the catches.
See, it's a great point out of you. You're back.
Zach Ertz, you want to be a big-time tight end? Well, every young quarterback, what's the young quarterback's best friend? The tight end.
Yeah,
so Ertz has to step up. Selleck has to step up. You want to know what this team's going to be. Maybe Carson Wentz is the given, and we're just, I think we're all in agreement that the kid's got talent at the wazoo.
Yeah.
It's what's around him that's going to deem him successful or failure or not. So maybe it's time for Jordan Matthews and Zach Ertz to step up and take that next step as well and pull this kid up with him so he's on that level and he's got that confidence that then when he has to make a play and he's got to make the tough throw to a DGB or a Selleck or even a Josh Huff who, I think all of us are in the same boat with him. We can't stand him, but we admit that he's a playmaker. So
if they can make enough plays offensively with their defense, they can get to that around that number.
Right, and it's just I'm going with this is it can't be squarely on his shoulders because if it is, you get the rookie mistakes. Well, if the other guys lift him up, then he jumps. And then maybe we're on to something here.
Well, I think it goes hand in hand with all the quarterbacks we named. Maybe not loaded on the offensive side of the football. They had more talent defensively. Some was a little mixture. But for all of them, they essentially made some of the guys around them better. Yeah. Like, RG3 made Alfred Morris a 1,000-yard back. Look like a Pro Bowler.
Joe Flacco made Torrey Smith look like a competent receiver.
What I go back to is, in this situation – granted, he didn't start from day one, but you look at number 5.
Yeah.
I think it's a good comparison, to be honest with you, because I actually think in the long term, I think Wentz is going to be better.
Okay.
But I think coming in, he's probably also a little better than number 5 was. But I look at what number 5 did, in his rookie year. And I think if you could get something comparable over 16 games that you got with McNabb out of, 10, I think you're in great shape. But McNabb wasn't perfect. There was a lot of mistakes there. But I think the talent level around him on the offensive side of the ball is comparable.
Yeah, there might be a little more talent on this side of the football.
Definitely in the backfield. For as much as I'm not a Ryan Matthews guy.
Yeah, he's a 1,000-yard back if he's healthy.
Yeah, but, obviously, Jordan Matthews is better than, was it Torrance Small or Charles Johnson?
Yeah, he's better than all of them. So I think he's in a better spot essentially offensively because, to your point, Mike, if they get on a good, relationship and they have a good relationship and they're in sync with each other, that could be something where you're talking about a 1,200-yard guy, 10 touchdowns. But now you also have red zone targets and Beckham as well as Ertz and guys you can go up and get in the end zone. So that helps. Trey Burton. So these kind of guys help you on, the offensive side of the football. And if you're getting costly turnovers and this defense swarming and you get yourself in good positions, that's where you can steal some of these games.
Let me ask you a question.
I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's here's the thing. Saturday just made this whole Eagles season fun again.
Yeah.
Because I went from being fired up for football to now I'm fired up for the Eagles again.
I agree. I did the video and said the season was over, and then I was talking to Robbie the next day, and I said, well, I took a step back and thought about it for a second, and I broke it down in my head, and then, I saw some Wentz throws again, and I started to say to myself, well, maybe it's not. Maybe, and I started putting all these factors together. I came up with this list the other day of who's made it, and I just started trying to sell myself on the other side.
Who's called?
I almost took my ball and went home.
Whose call do you think it was? Do you think it's Doug's call to start him?
Yeah, I think it's Doug's call.
I think there was pressure because I think Chase Daniels, Dougie's boy, and Dougie wanted to give him a shot, but I feel like anybody that has eyes should have been in his ear. Like, there's no way in hell you could put Chase Daniel out there on this field, considering that he just threw 2 interceptions and threw for about 14 yards against the Jets' 4th-string D.
See, it's interesting because I'm going to call this my Carson Wentz sandwich.
Hackenberg.
I think Doug wanted to go with Chase Daniel. I think Jeff Lurie wanted to go with Chase Daniel because everything that Jeff Lurie every time we've heard him speak, which hasn't been much lately, but if you go back to, January, February, he has wanted to mirror the way that Andy did it his first year. So with him wanting to mirror the way Andy did it, with Doug being Andy's guy, with Chase Daniel essentially being the 2016 version of Doug Peterson, I think that the owner and the coach wanted to go Chase Daniel. And I think, the point that you guys were just alluding to is that I think the general manager sat there and he watched Chase Daniel in the preseason. And when the opportunity to do this deal came up, he did the deal, and then he just turned right around and he said, look, number 11 is, if he's healthy, that's your guy. I'm not wasting time with Chase Daniel. I know you like him. I know Jeff likes him, but I'm not wasting time with Chase Daniel. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of his money is based on playing time. So if he doesn't get the playing time, the Birds don't have to part with that money. There is a business side to it, but I actually think it came from Howie.
No, I could see that, and I'm glad Howie made that decision because I tell you what, Saturday, whoever made the decision to start Carson Wentz saved my life because I was sitting there, I got an update on my phone. Eagles trade Sam Bradford, 1st-round pick. Bang, I'm sold. First, you never in a million years that I think you were going to get a 1st-round pick for Sam Bradford before the season even started, let alone at the end of the year.
Big Balls Chip was replaced by Big Dick Howie.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm sitting there, and then reality kicked in, and I'm like, holy shit, I have to sit down and watch Chase Daniel every Sunday. I can't do it. I got in my car, and I started driving to the bridge because I was going to jump off.
Yep.
And then I got another click. Doug Peterson announces Carson Wentz is starter if healthy. Turn my car right around. Let's go. Even if Wentz stinks, I could sit there, whatever. He's a rookie. Peyton Manning threw 22 interceptions his rookie year. I'll live with it. But there's no way in hell I could watch Chase Daniels' first season.
You know what's crazy? Ben Franklin Bridge is pretty high. I was looking at that the other day. That's a good 8 stories off the water.
Yeah.
That's a tough bridge.
I only hope certain people jump off. I don't wish it upon everybody.
And then it came out that Chase Daniels highly upset with. Well, maybe if you didn't suck.
Well, I just told you why he's upset. It's hitting him in the wallet.
Yeah, well, you go up to 2 for the guy to play. It's as simple as that. They weren't even at 2. They had to go up to 2 to get him. if you're that high on the guy to go up to 2 to get him, you should be high on him enough on the guy to have him play off the bat.
And you know why you're not playing? Go watch your preseason tape, Chase Daniel, and tell me you deserve to play.
Look, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I just have one question for you, gentlemen. Right? Well, I think it boils down to can Wentz run a pro-style offense?
Well,
he already did.
He did at North Dakota, and I think when you look at Wentz compared to Goff, or a lot of kids that come out, look at Winston, pro-style offense, who had some success his rookie year. Jared Goff, spread style, audibles at the line, and a hurry up a lot of times are coming from the sidelines. They're not coming from him. It's almost the Chip Kelly offense that's not in this league yet. So when you got a chance to get a pro-style guy who can make his own calls at the line, that guy can be successful early because he has his capability.
And it was interesting last year when you looked at Mariota. I think one of the things that's going to lead him to a lot of success in this league is he came from the Chip Kelly offense in college. But when he got to the pro level, he was still able to function in a traditional pro-style offense. But having that experience in the Chip Kelly offense, he was also able to make a lot of plays with his feet.
Yeah,
so,
he was.
Hindsight being 2020, had the Birds been able to move up last year and get Mariota, I think they obviously would have been a lot better off. But certainly if you
Chip would still be here.
Yeah, but if you look at the way things have spun over the last 18 months, I'm thrilled with Carson Wentz, and I just think it's going to come down to the pieces around him. But, I don't know. The whole thing with Chase Daniel, I understand guys are competitors and they want to play, but, man, how does that guy ever have a bad day in his life? He's tied to an NFL team. He's got a contract. He's making fat money. He's got a gorgeous wife.
He has the best job
in
the world.
Everyone says that the backup quarterback is the most loved guy, and it's the best job in the world.
And this will be the first time in the history that the backup won't be as loved as the starter here in Philadelphia. All right? By the first time.
Very true.
For the first time, we're not begging for the backup. But moving on to who we got going to Super Bowl 51, because we got stuck in the NFC East there, which was exciting.
Well, it's because our NFC East talk morphed right into
our other talk.
Yeah, the great debate.
Well, this month, BMW Atlantic City has challenged their sales team. They must sell 100 vehicles, which means you save right now. At least a certified pre-owned elite 2016 BMW 320i with X drives, just $299 a month for 36 months. The ultimate driving experience. It's closer than you think. BMW Atlantic City, easy to get to. Minutes off exit 37 of the Parkway. Online, BMWAtlanticCity.com. So, moving on. Who do you guys have going to Super Bowl 51? AFC, NFC, and give your prediction as well on who wins it.
All right, in the NFC, going out on a limb here, kind of. Seattle Seahawks. I don't have them winning the NFC West. The NFC West, but I do have them winning the NFC Championship game over the Minnesota Vikings, which means the Eagles are getting a third-round pick back in exchange for Bradford, including the first-round pick. And then in the AFC, I have the Steelers beating the Patriots. And then in the Super Bowl, have the Seahawks beating the Steelers.
Nice.
I'm going with the rematch of Super Bowl 43, where the Steelers beat the Arizona Cardinals at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. I am going with that same matchup, but this time I am flipping that script. And I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals over the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl.
Good one. I'm going to go with the best quarterback in the NFC. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
Can't go wrong there.
I'm not in love with their D, but, you got to be in love with their offense and what they can do. So I'll take the best quarterback there and make that change. It was the Minnesota Vikings that I had going with Teddy Bridgewater. Even though I just thought he would take that step his junior year, and he had the pieces. We know all that. Mm-hmm. AFC, this one's a tricky one where I've been all over the place. Between the Raiders, who I like a lot, and the Chiefs, who I like a lot. I like the Steelers and the Bengals, like we talked about earlier. But gun to my head, I'm going to go Kansas City Chiefs. So I'll have Chiefs, and who the heck was my NFC team? Packers. So Chiefs, Packers.
Wasn't that like Super Bowl 1?
It was Super Bowl 1.
Oh, Kansas City Chiefs
win
it this time.
Taking it to the Wayback Machine. It was actually, it was
Big Red getting
Super Bowl 1.
Big Red wins it. I think their defense is just so good.
So
I mean, it is so good.
After 50 Super Bowls, you reset.
It could be. You never know.
That's not good for the Eagles.
I like to
So-
that means they're left out again.
Let me ask you guys a question, and I'm thinking specifically right now about Goff and Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a rookie quarterback and you're building what you want to project as a timeline to go to the Super Bowl, what's your timeline on that? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
3.
I mean, and I'm talking from rookie season through a guy's going to dominate your conference playoffs and take you to the big dance.
I think your junior year, essentially,
Yeah.
You need to make that step to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
Yeah.
And if that's, a championship game first, and then your 4th year you're going to the bowl.
4th year, okay.
But we're going in your 3rd year. I mean, that's got to be your jump year if you're talking about when you take the next step for guys who develop slower than others,
Yeah, I think your 3rd season, you better be where you're going to be. Like Carson Wentz, for example, your 2nd overall pick. By your 3rd year, you should be an elite level quarterback. Like when people think about the go-to guys to win it all, your name better come up with them by your 3rd year.
Okay, and I'm good with that. I don't have a problem with either response. The reason that I asked the question is if you look ahead to the next upcoming Super Bowl locations. So this year is in Houston. Next year, it's...
No, this year's Minnesota.
No, this year's in Houston. Next year's Minnesota.
Maybe my sister messed it up when she told me.
That's all right. Yeah, no big deal.
No, she works for NFL alumni, so she runs.
All good.
She runs events there. So.
Yeah, so it's this year is Houston, then Minnesota, then and the
is that LA the 3rd year?
the Palace in Minnesota. No, but that's where I'm going. Then you got the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, the rebuilt, revamped, revised, refurbished Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Super Bowl 55, 2021, City of Champions Stadium, Inglewood, California. So when we were talking about the Goff and Wentz debate and such, are the Rams on a 5-year plan with Goff? Are they trying to basically get to the Super Bowl when they're essentially going to be the host team? Is the Super Bowl being in Los Angeles almost an excuse for them to slow their timeline on Goff a little bit?
The fact that he's not dressing right now, and Sean Mannion, he definitely outplayed him in the preseason. He deserved to be the number 2. They're obviously taking the long way. Like, I could see they could probably sell it to where they're saying, all right, you know what, that's going to be the – but, like, I mean, that could be their plan, but I'm not a huge fan of Goff. I wouldn't have took him if I didn't know
either, but if
no, I know, Sean, you weren't with us at the time, but Tommy and I went back and forth about this a bunch. Neither of us wanted a quarterback.
I don't think
neither of us wanted a quarterback up there.
No, me either.
But if we did get the quarterback, we both wanted Wentz because neither of us like Goff.
No, we didn't. And guess what, Mike? To your point, if are they setting up for that? Well, guess what? If they are, that's
right.
Stupid as an organization because the Super Bowl's there. You're going to sell out regardless.
And who's going to be there?
You're going to draw money regardless. So you don't need to worry about drawing money because you're playing in it. Because you're going to sell it out regardless. So, and to your point, are they on like a 4 or 5 year plan with Goff? No question about it. They've showed you everything this year. You need to know that they're on a longer plan. But guess what? Things change in this league, and they change quickly. And, if they get off to a really, really bad start, because I think essentially the Rams, I think they want to tank. And they want to tank on purpose because I think that, to Sean's point, they want to put talent around him. They got Gurley. They if there's talent around him, the guy, most quarterbacks can be successful. So, I think that's what they're trying to do. I think the Rams are trying to tank it out. And to your point, Mike, 4 or 5 years, be a powerhouse. I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they might tank for a couple.
And here's another.
One, because Goff stinks.
Who's their coach when they're good? Because Jeff Fisher's ass ain't going to be there.
See, I disagree with that. I actually think Jeff Fisher's one of those guys that I actually think he's on the call it the hall pass plan. I honestly feel like Jeff Fisher gets to ride this thing for a while. I feel like he's kind of almost in like the Tomlin mold where if things go bad, that ownership is going to give him every opportunity to fix it because he's Jeff Fisher. He's an institution in the NFL.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. I mean, you're spot on, and I think he deserves it. I think he's a good football coach. I don't know if he's a great one, but he's a good one. But again, who's calling the shots around there? Was Goff his guy? Because I look at the head coach, and they tell you a lot about guys they pick and who's picking them. Is it the front office or is it the coach? Because you'll see guys drafted high that don't play, and that tells me everything I need to know that was a front office pick. If you're talking about top 10 picks, right? If you see top 10 picks and they're playing right away, most times it's the coach's pick. Coach had a big part in it. You know what I mean? When you see guys, like Marcus Smith and other guys not play right away, that makes you think that they're Howie's picks.
Well,
that kind of thing.
No, you're right,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you straight out, if the Rams were staying in St. Louis, I think Tunsil would have been their number one overall pick.
And rightfully so, because
before the gas mask situation.
Yeah,
anyway.
and what changed? I mean, he was the projected number one player on the board. If you weren't going to start Goff this year and you were going to tank anyway, well, then tank for Deshaun Watson.
I'm about to say, take Tunsil and get Deshaun.
Because you were in no rush to grab a quarterback this year.
Goff has Ryan Leaf written all over.
That's what I was going to say. You brought up Super Bowls. I don't even think they sniff a Super Bowl with Goff.
Not with Goff, unless they tank so bad that there's just so many playmakers around them.
And
you know what I'm saying?
I think it had to be
that's
ownership.
possible too.
It had to be an ownership pick, in my opinion, because I think they seriously only took Goff to put asses in the seat.
I agree with you, and they still probably won't. They will for a little bit until it gets real ugly, but then they won't. Right?
But that's what.
Agreed.
Did you see any of the Hard Knocks? Because episode 1, or episode 2, it was the first preseason game. And Jeff Fisher made this whole big thing after the game that they had the most attended preseason game in NFL history. Was that really all due to the fact that it's the Rams? I think people were just happy to have football back in L.A. And the cockroaches, the Cowboys fans, half of their fan base probably lives out in California without a clue.
Them scums.
So they probably went there to see them too. I don't think it's not going to work.
Well, don't the Cowboys actually have their training camp in California?
Yeah, I did see that too. I don't understand that at all.
Well, it's hot in Texas, and they're a bunch of prima donnas. So
Yeah, it seems like it, right? I mean,
they're unbelievable though. The Cowboys, Jerry built a 35,000 seat practice facility for the Cowboys, and they play high school football.
I was
going to
say that's where all the big Texas high school
it's called
football
like
games
the
are.
Ford Center or something like that. So rather than having to give up the Jerry Dome, he hosts games at their practice facility, which is nicer than most college stadiums in the country.
yeah, isn't that ridiculous?
It's unbelievable.
Isn't that ridiculous?
It was like $100 million practice facility, seats 35,000 people.
Listen,
it's unbelievable.
The guy's good at what he does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great businessman. But talking about Wentz and carrying that over, and every Wednesday night, Tom,
Mike,
AM
in the PM,
is brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountant. Find them on the web, gibsonmayer.com. And going into Carson Wentz's first start against the Browns, we talk about how we feel and how Mike sort of feels, and Mike's more on the side of the fact that he just doesn't think there's enough talent around them offensively, that it's going to struggle his first year, and that there's nothing wrong with that statement. But week 1 against Cleveland, a bad football team, what are you expecting, guys?
I think he balls out. I will say that. I think he has a hell of a game because I think they're going to lean on Ryan Matthews a lot early, not expect him to do a whole lot in the first quarter into the second quarter. There's going to be a lot of Ryan Matthews in the first half, and then Wentz is going to be hitting short, quick passes, get his confidence up. And then I think he's going to let it loose, and I just don't think Cleveland has the defense to – I mean, we don't exactly have superstars as weapons, but I will say this. Last year when Tennessee played Cleveland, the first game of the year, Green Beckham owned Joe Hayden. And then Jordan Matthews, who's going to cover him, one of their linebackers. They just traded their first-round pick from 2 years ago
No, they do that every
to
year.
the Patriots. So, I mean, I just think he's really set up for success. And I think the schedule had a lot to do with them starting him this early. I think they sat back and looked at it, or like, keep him to the bye, start him on the road against the Lions, or do we just say, F it, go out there, beat the Browns, beat the Bears,
And
then go.
get hot.
And I will say this. I did it mainly because of the price tag, but I'm also a huge believer. Wentz is my FanDuel quarterback this week.
Oh. So he slings it around a little bit? Week one?
I'm expecting 2.
2 TDs?
Yeah.
Well, how many yards? 250?
Yeah, I would say 250. I'd be
240?
happy with that.
I'd love to agree with you. I really would. The problem that I have with Wentz this week, he hasn't played in a month. I think there's some ring rust. I think what's going to happen this week is I think you're going to see a very frustrating first half. I think there's going to be some throws that are there that he's going to miss just because he hasn't done it against the number one defense for more than a couple minutes ever in the NFL. I think second half, once the game slows down for him a little bit, once he knocks some of the rust off, I think it's going to be a tale of two halves with him. I can't necessarily say he's going to ball out because you got to look at the entire body of work for the whole game. I'm going to go 175, 1-1. I think the Birds win the game. I think it's a low-scoring game. RG3 doesn't impress me. I think the Eagles need to find a way to shut down Barnage, to be honest with you, and that a lot of that's going to fall on Michael Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. So we'll see how that shakes out. I could see the Birds easily winning this thing, though, like 14-10, 16-13, something like that. Like I am not seeing a lot of points on the board on Sunday.
Go ahead.
But let me give you the other side of the coin real quick, too. To your point, if he does come out and there's just no sign of rust at all, and he does sling it early, then you could be looking at a roll job because you'd have that like youthful enthusiasm and just looking to set the place on fire. And, you know, let's call it what it was. Andy used to be a little bit of a gunslinger.
Oh, yeah.
Andy thought nothing about going out on the first series of the game.
Play action going.
Play
deep,
action.
Yeah.
Play
see
action
that.
and taking your shot.
Imagine that.
Who the hell you throw it deep to?
Beckham.
But honestly, like, you could just
Big target.
You could line Beckham up on one side and Aguilar on the other and just send them up the field, and whatever happens, happens, because you're putting the confidence in the kid to take a shot. I just think what's going to happen is if he hits a couple big plays early and the confidence builds, you could be looking at a roll job. But if that ring rust is there, you just got to be patient. The one thing I don't want to hear on Sunday is boos.
No.
I don't think you will.
Listen, if the kid's special, right, and a key word here, if he's special, it's the home game. Mm-hmm. This is his first NFL career start. If he's special, he's gonna do some special things out there. So I got like 21-14, 21-10 Eagles, and one touchdown's gonna come from real good field position, a turnover, something like that. I think he throws for 2 or 1. I have him going. If he throws for 2, he's gonna throw a pick because I feel like he throws a little bit more. But if he only throws 1 touchdown, I think he doesn't turn the football over. And our other 2 touchdowns come either from the running game or, a defensive touchdown or maybe even special teams.
I'm going to say that if the Eagles...
A lot of screens. A lot of misdirections, a lot of screens.
I can see that. If the Birds break 24, one of the touchdowns will either have been a defensive touchdown or special teams.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I think the offense is good enough to put up 17.
Right, yeah, I'm right around him. I got 21, and I'm right there. Right. You're talking about a touchdown compared to a field goal, which is extremely possible. So I think we're all in agreement they win.
Yeah.
But we're going to find out a lot, Mike. I mean, to our whole argument, which to tell the masses, this is what this is all about. I mean, when I do a show and agree to disagree, they're 2 of my close friends, and that's how we talk to each other. A lot of F-bombs, a lot of yelling. I told Wilson a million times I'll mute the effing mic on him, and it creates some spice.
Well, I feel like
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm mad because I want to be right. You're mad because you want to be right. And guess what? One of us might be right.
I just feel like I got my red badge of courage tonight because you threatened to mute the mic.
I know. Well, I haven't done that in a long freaking time. I don't think, or ever. I usually just do that to Wilson. He's the only guy I ever need to say, "Yo, I'm muted on you." But no, to both points. If he comes out and throws 22 picks like Peyton did, it doesn't mean that he can't be good.
Right.
Okay? I just think that sometimes showing it early, they can. That's really what it all comes down to. That, we're going to find out. I mean, Sunday's going to tell us a lot.
It is,
and
absolutely.
it's not, and we can't overreact to what we see Sunday, and we can't not react to things.
Yeah.
It's really this middle area where you have to judge it, and you have to judge a body of work.
I've never been more excited for an Eagles game. Considering when McNabb made his debut, I was 6. I didn't really understand the whole
5.
I just seen people like, all right, I'm an Eagles, I'm going to watch the Eagles. Didn't understand this whole thing. Now, like, understanding the big picture, never been more excited. As soon as I heard Wentz was starting, I immediately went, got some tickets. I was like, I got to be there for this.
Yeah, I saw you looking for tickets.
I got to be there for this.
And going back to the argument earlier, I'll tell you, if Wentz had played all 4 preseason games, or even 3 out of the 4, I might be much closer to your side of the argument. The issue that I have with it, and again, I go back and I draw that comparison to McNabb.
Well, draw the comparison to your argument last year about Bradford preseason and
they only played
reps
one time
and snaps. So, I mean, there's validity to it. But again, why I think he can get away with that, and I think it's going to affect him, to your point. I do think it affects you a little bit. But, again, be able to move and plays break down, that's the kind of things that can help him with that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I do agree with you. I mean, there's got to be some rust.
Yeah, and I feel like if you
it's unnatural.
That's why I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Ryan Matthews early.
I just think if you set the clock back and you go all the way back to McNabb's rookie year and you look at the preseason that he had, and you kind of knew that Doug was going to be the starter, but every time McNabb came into the game during the preseason, whether he got time with the 1s or if he was running with the 2s and 3s or whatever, you just had a feeling that something special was going to happen.
Yeah, you're right.
And maybe it was because he was that kind of dynamic athlete at Syracuse, and people saw him on TV all the time. They knew what they were getting. Even with that bullshit dirty 30 going to the draft and booing him and whatever, I think the fans in Philly knew when McNabb came here, you knew what you were getting.
He's a playmaker.
And I think a part of this whole thing with Wentz is, we know he's a playmaker, but do the masses understand what they're going to get here? I mean, first off, the next time I hear somebody say that this kid played at a Division II school, I'm going to smack somebody. He didn't play at a Division II school. He played at an FCS school, okay? He played at the same type of school that Flacco played at.
And the best
and
one.
Nobody ever wants to bash Flacco for where he went to school. Kid played at the same level. Sean, to your point, the best one. He's beaten Division I. He's beaten Big Ten teams in his college career. So he didn't play at a Division II school. I just think that there's just not enough familiarity with this kid yet in terms of the entire fan base for that sort of like just that heat.
Yeah, well, you see him on TV all the time, like Deshaun Watson, or and you see a guy on TV all the time. It's different because there's more excitement because you see him make a ton of plays.
But it'll happen. It's going to come.
Well, guess what? I'd rather him make plays here. But to your point, he did play at the best Division I AA, FCS school, and he's beaten legitimate Division I programs. And like we talked about, he ran the offense there. He wasn't a guy who got audibles from the sideline. I mean, it's a guy who called plays at the line, changed plays at the line. Pro-style stuff that's so important that, guess what? If they didn't think he was ready, if they really didn't think he was ready, they would start Chase Daniel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, to your point, and it can go either way because we've seen it go either way.
Right.
The non-reps might not matter, or they might come into play. It can go either way.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that the way they're judging him and, their report card on him essentially is that he's up to speed and he can come in and play week 1. That's what I'm hoping. Because if not, I would assume that they would start Chase Daniel because, you brought him here, you paid him a good amount of money. So that's why I think that maybe they feel like, okay, what they've seen, again, small sample size, that he's ready to go and the rust isn't going to really matter because he's still throwing and, he's taking the time to really, not be on the field, but really even learn the playbook even more. So, I think, and we don't even think he was even hurt to begin with, Mike.
No, I hear you. I think that whole thing was just a mask, but I think the wild card in all of this that we haven't even talked about, and I know why we haven't talked about it, but we haven't talked about the rookie head coach.
I mean, through all this freaking
shit. And that's a big. That's a big deal. Because I think, the three of us will sit here and we'll talk about Doug Peterson and Frank Reich, and these are two guys that were both quarterbacks in the league bottom line, neither of them has ever been a head coach. I think you got to chalk up at least one loss to the coach at some point. So who knows? But the thing that they can do best to help Carson Wentz is decide who's going to call the plays, stick with that person, whether it's Frank Reich or Doug Peterson. None of this bullshit back and forth the way Andy used to do it, where he would just get a feel and say, I'm going to start calling the plays. You have one guy start calling the plays, stick with it, run the ball, screens, quick throws.
Well, what did you see in Kansas City?
And if you throw the ball down the field, play action.
And and to your point, what did we see in Kansas City? Even more so than we saw in Philly. Randy upped it a little bit, and there's a lot more misdirection and a lot more moving in the pocket and just things like that where, you're faking it one way, going back the other way on a bubble screen. I mean, this different things where he was always misdirections, which one helped Alex Smith, and when you had Jamal Charles, it's a perfect match. But I see a lot of that, to your point, Mike. I see a lot of play action, misdirection type stuff, screens, low risk throws. It's a West Coast offense. I mean, this is what we should expect, which can help him too, Mike. Right? I mean,
agree. Yeah.
The easier throws off the bat, and to your point, I think at the beginning they're really going to try to get him into a rhythm. A lot of screens, misdirection screens, quick passes, end arounds. So like Josh Huff, just to get moving and get a feel. So that's a way to come out and start it.
Well, and if you think back to, Andy's last probably 3-4 years as the coach of the Eagles. When he needed to get his quarterback into a rhythm, you look at what he did. I mean, it was textbook. It was literally 3-step drop, boom, 8-yard out. Come back, other side. How soft was the corner? All right, boom, 3-step drop, 8-yard out to the other side. 16 yards, first down. Okay, here we go. Run the ball. Run the ball again, 3rd and 2. All right, I want my tight end over the middle for 5. Like it's everything had a purpose to it, and it was smart. And I think that was the one area where we didn't give Andy Reid enough credit, because at times, obviously there were issues with clock management. His ego got in the way because there were plenty of times when he just didn't like the game flow and would take the offensive play calling back from his offensive coordinators. But when, to his credit, when he was calling plays and things were going well, there was a rhythm to it and there was purpose to things. And that's what Doug has to learn. Doug has to learn that the entire offensive game plan is like a big freaking Lego set. And one thing connects into the other, that connects into the other, that connects into the other. And if you want to pound the ball 5, 6, 7 times in a row, that's great if you're picking up positive yardage. But, you get to that, 7th or 8th time in a row, you better have somebody up in your box looking down to figure out where is the safety, where is the corner. Are the corners cheating in? Are the safeties cheating up? We've ran the ball 6, 7, 8 times in a row. Can we beat this thing over the top now? And if we do, how long is it going to take for the play to develop? I mean, these are all things that Doug, he's not a dumb guy. I'm sure he knows these things. But he can't be so overwhelmed with being the head coach that he's not thinking on that 2nd and 3rd level. And maybe that's what they got Frank Reich for, to do that 2nd or 3rd level thinking.
That's what I was going to say. To me, like when you brought up the point we haven't talked about the fact that it's a rookie head coach, I've kind of accepted that and overlooked it, mainly because I'm extremely confident in the staff as a whole. When you got Jim Schwartz in here, he's going to be basically the head coach of the defense. Doug has nothing to worry about over there. You got Corey Unlin coaching the secondary. You got Reich, DeFilippo. They're going to be in Doug's ear. And I feel like he is the head coach. Like he's in control of everything. But there's going to be a lot going on around behind him.
But
behind the scenes.
That's the thing, though, is how does he manage that? How does he take all of that information that's coming in at one time and process it to be able to put it back onto the field? I think you make a great point. I think they've done a great job of surrounding him with real super high quality coaches. But at the end of the day, he's still the one that's going to stand at the podium and answer for his team's performance.
Well, look, I mean, from what we saw, it looks like he's calling the plays.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure with the help of Frank Wright, because he wouldn't have brought him in if it wasn't a dual.
Yeah, if he was just going to be
there.
there.
If it wasn't a dual situation. So, we're talking about two former quarterbacks. Frank Wright had success in San Diego, at least with scoring points. I mean, there wasn't an issue there, right? And Doug had success in his play calling with Kansas City.
Frank Reich also engineered the greatest comeback in NFL playoff history.
A great knowledge. And so,
boom!
But to Sean, really, I feel like I said to people's point so much tonight. But again, to your point, about a staff that surrounds him that really helps. And I don't think Doug comes in here with a gigantic ego where it's all about Doug Peterson, similar to what we thought we saw with Chip Kelly. So hopefully that's a breath of fresh air. But guess what? The big factor of why I think this team's a playoff team at 10-6, again, the division. But guess what? What's been happening here over the last week, boys, that we're going to get into in a second here? What's been happening with this roster, boys?
The Chip Kelly purge?
What's been happening with this roster?
A lot of movement.
Thank you. So to that point, we all know who the first to go is when a team struggles. It's the head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's second?
Howie.
Yeah. Howie's banging Lori's wife, so he's not going anywhere. The players.
Yeah.
The players are usually the second to go. So it's make or break for a lot of these guys. And that's why I think, some guys have got paid, but you see what's happening around you. You see guys getting dealt. And listen, it's make it or break it time for a lot of these guys. Come out and play hard. New coaching staff, a lot of moving parts. You want to impress the new staff because you want to be here, So that's what's going to be interesting to see how guys step up. And, I've overlooked the Doug Peterson being our first-year head coach because I feel like when you're there's been offensive coordinators at it from Andy's tree that haven't been successful. But something just feels successful about this guy. Maybe because he played too. And you talk about Brad Childress was like this big, and Marty Morningway was a good offensive coordinator, terrible head coach. But something just feels like when you're a former player, that these guys, you see it all around the league, they relate to guys better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like, they know what to do in the locker room. They know how to have a good time. They know when to turn it up and when to be a yell or screaming type guy or a rah-rah guy or when just to, they've been through the gauntlet of what goes on in an NFL season. I think that's an advantage to a guy who's played and coached for a long time. And he goes back, when you talk about Doug Peterson, he's been around some big-time trees. We talk about the Andy, the Birch, the Birch tree. I mean, but you talk about he was around Marino, and he was around Favre. I mean,
right, but then the whole, it's just
Holmgren.
It's just another big, long branch on the Bill Walsh tree. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Walsh to Holmgren to Andy to Doug.
Yeah.
He
could fail, though. God, to the point, like, no homers in here. The guy could fail. I don't know if I'm in love with the hire. Me and Mike sort of smelled it coming.
Yeah.
Probably 2 weeks before it happened. When they interviewed him, we pretty much said on our show, done deal.
Yeah, that's it.
He's coming in. They're not going to bring anybody else in because they want, Andy to slay. But guess what? Andy's calling and giving approval. So, time's going to tell on Doug Peterson. But guess what? Guess who Doug Peterson's tied to? Carson Wentz.
Right.
So if Carson Wentz can play, he's going to make Doug Peterson look good.
Oh, yeah.
It really comes down to that.
Right. The one thing that I worry about with the whole Andy Reid situation is when you look at the tree and you go from Bill Walsh to Seifert, Holmgren, Gruden's on that tree, Andy. If you come from,
but Jay Gruden on it too.
Yeah, but
Harbaugh.
if you come from Andy and you flow down from Andy, this might be a bit of an indictment on him. And I think the situation there, and this is where Doug Peterson has to buck the trend. Andy didn't give his coaches and coordinators enough autonomy to when they became head coaches. That I think that they had enough, call it balls, honestly, to be successful. Like, there was no safety net. There was no going back. And you look at guys like Childress, like Morningweg, like Steve Spagnuolo, who, was a great defensive coordinator under Andy and didn't have much success as a head coach. I want Doug to be the first of the Andy disciples.
Well, Harbaugh.
Well, yeah, but
let me ask you a question. When you talk about Harbaugh, can you really consider it a little bit too Doug in a way? Where now, we know John didn't play.
Yeah.
We know Jim's pedigree, but being around it and being around the game because of your brother and being around football, it's almost like you play and you know how to handle locker rooms.
See, and
to his success,
it's interesting because I actually don't attribute John Harbaugh's success to Andy. I mean, I know he says
No, I attribute to his brother.
Yeah, I was going to say I actually attribute Harbaugh's success to being from the Harbaugh family.
Yeah, and
I think he got hired by Andy because of his father and his brother. I mean, let's not forget, Jack Harbaugh is like a legend in the Midwest. So, I mean, for John Harbaugh to pull that off.
But to all the offensive coordinators you mentioned, Mike, and to even the D coordinators, right? None of them played.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping, that he can buck the trend, because he's played the game. He's been around greatness. And sometimes, like we talk about all the time, when you're surrounded by greatness through the most of your life, it's got to rub off some greatness to you. Right? But again, it comes down to Wentz. If Wentz stinks, well, Doug Peterson's not going to be a good coach. So it really comes down to how good is Carson Wentz, right?
But
it's full circle.
But you told me an hour ago that Wentz is the man.
Well, listen, I hope he is.
And you're probably right.
But to your point, Tom, about being around greatness rubs off on other people, I think that's something that nobody has really talked about with this whole Carson Wentz situation. What's our biggest thing on this show when it comes to Phillies? It's you got to be around winning to get used to winning, which is our big point with the minor leaguers.
Right.
Carson Wentz, what did he do in college?
He was a winner.
All he did was win. All 4 years he was there. Mind you, he wasn't the starter for all them years, but he was there. He's been around it. He was in the locker room 4 years. He was around it. 4-time national champion, never ended a season not a champion. The kid is a winner, been around winning, and I think that says a lot to something that he might be able, because there's really no proven guys on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles, and I think his attitude, because what I'm hearing already with his first practices, that he's in the huddle yelling at, commanding the huddle, like demanding respect already, first week ever practicing with the first teamers, that he's showed the team that he is the guy that's running the show right now. And I just feel like his wisdom and like just being around winning for all them years has to have benefit to this team.
Yeah, we know how much Zach Ertz liked Bradford, in their relationship. And when you hear Zach Ertz come out and talk about that, he feels like, Wentz brings something, different to the offense that's exciting. That gets you geeked up again. Because I think I stand for most of it. Did I think this team could win the division with Bradford? Yeah. But I wasn't excited for this season because I felt
you knew what it was. It was done after this year.
Yeah, I felt like I knew who Sam Bradford was, and if he's healthy, he's a good player, but he's never healthy. So I feel like I almost, like, because of what happened last year and all the excitement from preseason, I almost couldn't get myself geared up. But to Sean's point, when I found out Wentz was starting, and when I did that video in terms of the deal, at the time Wentz wasn't really announced as starter yet.
Right.
So at this point, season's over. But I had to take a step back and really look at Wentz and can we still be successful? So hopefully we can.
Can I give you guys a different type of spin on this thing?
Yeah, shoot. Spinning around,
I think
baby,
I think
right
one of the
around.
things that we need to consider, and if you want to like really get the shovel and start digging deep on this one, it will make a lot of sense. I think that one of the biggest keys to this whole thing on the offensive side of the ball is going to be Jason Peters. Not only because he's got Carson Wentz's back literally as the blindside left tackle, but he's your veteran. He's your guy on that offensive line who, if things aren't going well offensively, everyone is going to go to him looking for a quote, an explanation, what can be done differently, what can be done better. Because people were tired of talking to Kelsey.
Yeah.
Kelsey's a joke. He needs a bounce-back season like nobody's business.
Yeah, you're spot on, Mike.
But if Jason Peters gets behind this kid, and Carson Wentz earns the respect of that veteran, and this is your 23, 24-year-old, young, white, Midwestern, upper Midwestern, Cornhusker, potato, whatever quarterback, and your left tackle. And on the surface, you want to look at it and say, what do these two guys have in common? Absolutely nothing, other than the fact that they're on the same football field and they both want to win. If Carson Wentz can get Jason Peters on board with what he wants to do, and Peters can get the rest of the offense on board with what Carson Wentz wants to do, then I think you could see things start to roll. But if that goes the other way, and Jason Peters is either not healthy, or they lose a couple games and he starts bitching and moaning about the fact that the rookie's in there, or they don't like the play calling, or the execution is not there, and things start to snowball in the wrong direction, and this is a guy who's been around forever. Most people think it's going to be his last year with the team. If he quits, all bets are off, because, if he quits, they could be looking at 5-11. And I would just be like, if he quits, I'd sit him down. If I'm Doug, I don't even deal with that.
Well, I think they got to be feeling good about themselves in the locker room, and
you would hope.
And a breath of fresh air, a young kid. Sometimes that rejuvenates a locker room, the youth, and the youth at the biggest position in the NFL, essentially the quarterback position. And yeah, Mike, I think it could rejuvenate Jason Peters a little bit. That maybe he wants to play, and if they get out to a good start, like we hope they can, against the Browns and the Bears. Well, guess what? Maybe it gets all these veterans excited. They can win with the kid.
I hope so. I hope that's how it is.
It's going to depend on how he plays. If he plays like shit, then, to your point, Peters, he's just going to fall down like he does. Like he got shot. Like he falls like he got shot by something out of the stands. You almost got to, check around. Snipers.
Yeah, obviously, I'm really looking, big, huge picture on this. But, for as much as Sam Bradford would get ripped in the media, or for as much as, people may have thought he was like an average quarterback or whatever, he was well-liked in that locker room. By every report you read is that the guys in that locker room,
he's a nice guy.
They loved Bradford.
Because he's not a bad guy, he's a nice guy.
But you don't want that to cause a hangover. Like, oh shit, our quarterback just got ripped out from under us a week before the season starts.
True.
What happens now? They got to turn that page, and they got to turn it quick.
And I think they did. I think a lot of things you're hearing. Go ahead, Sean.
I think the team knew the deal, though. I feel like they kind of knew, all right, short of us going to a Super Bowl this year.
It's still tough, like Mike said. It's still tough before, though.
But I feel like guys like Jordan Matthews, who's been in the league 3 years, has 3 different quarterbacks. Guys like Ertz. Now I feel like they look at it as, finally, here's a guy that let's get some stability and let's grow together with.
No, that's fair too. But guess what? At this level, this is the big leagues. Okay, this isn't minor leagues where you worry about these things. Guys come and go, and when you got a guy that we talk about, you drafted number 2 overall at the quarterback position. And you made that move.
He's going to play at some point.
Yeah, and so you got to look at the move if you're a veteran and say, well, look what we got back. I'm a veteran. We got a first-round pick back. We didn't have one. We essentially got back everything that we gave up for Carson Wentz, from the Rowe deal to the Bradford deal. We pretty much got the picks back that we gave up. So that's a win. So, listen, I think they look around this team and, looking at each man individually and say, this is a good roster. So I think they believe in the guys around them. And guess what? It all comes down to, if he gets out to a quick start and they gain that confidence like we talk about, all bets are off. I think veterans like Malcolm Jenkins, who have seen great quarterbacks in this league in terms of Drew Brees and other guys who've been around it. But to your point, Mike, he's well-liked in the locker room because he's a nice guy. That doesn't always translate to him being how much they love him on the football field.
True.
So I'd rather Carson Wentz be a son of a bitch and win me 12 games a year than be Mr. Nice Guy and us now make the playoffs. So I just think he's such a good guy. Like, when you hear Sam Bradford talk, he's just a nice guy. He's so easily liked. Yeah. That's why, essentially, through his career, he sort of got away with the injuries. There's heat on Bradford, but because he can play a little bit, but not like other heat that you see from bust quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Because it comes down to, you feel bad for a guy because you tear an ACL every freaking year. Or last year it's a shoulder. It's just always something. And you see the guy, And when he started playing last year, he started to play well.
Yeah.
Before that Miami game where he got hurt. I mean, we were up big in the Miami game. I was at that game.
Yep.
You were at that game, I'm sure.
I was at that game.
Sean was at the look at it, house party. But as soon as he got hurt, where'd our season go?
Oh, yeah.
So there's no question the guy can play. But the same thing, him going to Minnesota, what's going to happen? If he gets hurt, well, I still have Minnesota as a playoff team with Sean Hill just because they're that good. But if he's healthy for 16, Mike, that might turn into a second.
I just laugh
Right,
because
Right, you could.
you know
And that doesn't bother me because if I get a first and second for Sam Bradford, go to the Super Bowl. Go get your ring, Sammy. You know what I mean?
I got him in the championship, but I mean, they could very well sneak into the dance.
I just laugh because
They could.
Zimmer is out there saying, I'm not going to name my starting quarterback until Sunday morning. You think anybody buys into that at all?
Well, I had
Hell no.
I had heard that Bradford's not starting because he don't know the playbook.
I'm telling you right now.
Well, they announced that Sean Hill was their starter for Week 1. Now that could change.
I'm telling you right now.
I mean, they're playing the Titans. Who gives a shit?
Bradford's going to be the starter. I guarantee it. And they will run Adrian Peterson 30 times.
They very well could.
Though, and honestly, they may call the play into the huddle and just have Bradford repeat the play and have somebody in the huddle tell Bradford, all right, on this play, you're going to hand the ball to Adrian going right. On this play, you're going to hand the ball to Adrian going left.
They
They're
might lose.
going to have Adrian Peterson wear the helmet with the mic.
I feel like Bradford starts Week 1, they lose.
Interesting.
I mean,
Just
they're playing the Titans, though.
No,
That's
I
going to
know
be a hard game to lose.
I know who they're playing, but Mariota can make plays.
How delicious would it be, though, if Bradford did start and you had the Bradford-Mariota matchup?
And Mariota won. But how better would it be?
With Chip sitting out in San Francisco watching it because they don't play till Monday night.
How better would it be if Minnesota gets some big-time injuries all over the roster, and that turns into a top, 8 pick of the draft?
That'd be phenomenal.
What happens if it's spun that way for us, where you're up high in the draft for a second year? So, there's a lot of factors, boys. A lot of factors. But talking about the trades before we wrap it up, obviously we talked about Bradford, 1 and a 4 as it stands right now. That 4 can go a 3 if they make the playoffs in the Vikings, or up to a 2 if it's a Super Bowl.
Right.
But the deal yesterday, boys, the Eric Rowe, trading, last year's, not this past year, but 2 years ago's draft, 47th pick overall. You're giving up on him after 1 year. And I want you guys' thoughts on the return. It was Josh Klein in the 4th, and now it's just a 4th. How do you feel about that?
I was all for it when it was Josh Klein and the 4th. I think the 4th is a bit light. I liked Rowe last year, and to a certain extent, I liked him this year. I still had him on the final 53. I was looking at him as a guy who was probably going to be a swing corner safety. I think you heard a lot of whispers this week that they weren't crazy with his technique. They weren't crazy with the way he fit into a Schwartz system, and that he might be a better fit somewhere else. Do I think they gave up on him a little too early? Yeah, I do, but at the same time, maybe C.J. Smith is just better. And maybe, maybe the guy that they picked up, that Terrence
Brooks.
Terrence Brooks. I was gonna call him Terrence Brown. I was getting it mixed up with Ron Brooks, but yeah, Terrence Brooks. I mean, maybe they just have more trust in Terrence Brooks than they do Rowe, and it just became a situation where, maybe Rowe's not that bad. They just brought in guys that are better. I don't know. I mean,
maybe they feel like they can get something for him now, so they get something.
It's not a situation where I'm like, don't cry for me, Argentina. But at the same time, he could have stuck around this year, and I would have been fine with it.
Well, look, we were talking, guys, before the show, and when you talk about 53-man rosters, and nobody here, but you've heard it through the grapevine of guys here at A2 Day and elsewhere, where they had guys like Marcus Smith and Eric Rowe not making the roster. And I think I sat here numerous times and said there's no freaking chance that them two don't make the roster. And I tell you even more of a reason why.
Eric Rowe did make the roster.
Yeah. So to tell you guys even more of a reason by that, most of the times when you see a new structure organization, new coaches come in, and there's high-round picks that maybe didn't work right away for the other system, these guys want to see if these guys can fit into what they're doing before they just give up on them. So maybe Rowe didn't quite fit what they were trying to do. Not that he wasn't a good player, and they feel like they can get some value back in terms of a pick and replenish the picks they gave up. Fine. I'm all for that. So, but in terms of Marcus Smith, does he fit in a wide 9 type situation where you put your hand in there, get up the field? I just loved.
I think he's going to be a better fit in the wide 9.
Yeah, I just think some media outlets are just complete jackasses that they even can put out that Rowe might not make this team or Marcus Smith might make this team or other young guys that were Chip Kelly guys or drafted by Howie or Chip. Nobody knows, but they're going to give these guys every opportunity to see if they fit in what they're doing as a coaching staff.
And I don't disagree with it.
Always want to freaking reach.
But I will say this. If Rowe was a 4th or 5th round pick instead of a 2nd round pick, he may have gotten cut.
Right.
I honestly...
Well, yeah. No, yeah.
I honestly think they held on to him and he made their roster with them having every intent that they were going to try to move him. I honestly don't think
he'll be a Pro Bowler in New England.
He'll become Matt Ware. He will. He'll be Matt Ware. He'll be a guy who couldn't do squat with the Eagles and went to Arizona and made a Pro Bowl.
Kurt Coleman, who goes to Carolina.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
These guys. But guess what?
But maybe it's a better system for him.
Mike, here we are, babe. We're back.
Jim
Kumbaya.
Schwartz
We're on the freaking same page again. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz just didn't like him. He was doomed as soon as Schwartz got there, seen him on the field. But I actually went back yesterday. I sat down because I was just because so many people were saying Rowe's not going to make this team. Schwartz. I went back and I looked at numerous scouting reports of him coming out of college, and a lot of people said he cannot be a corner in this league. They said his hips are way too slow. He's not going to be able to cover people like that. He's not a NFL corner. But for some reason, the Eagles took him and didn't like him as safety. I don't even think they tried it. They said he's not a safety.
Yeah, they didn't.
And I just feel like
Well,
maybe
guess what? These are techniques
Yeah.
and stuff like that can be worked on. I mean, I thought the little sample size that we saw from Eric Rowe outside the Calvin Johnson, I thought, and even in that game, I thought he competed against, the best wide receiver in the world, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he didn't retire because he lost a step. You take so many hits in this league, and guys give it up early. But at the end of the day, I mean, you saw the kid compete. In the Jets game, he played well.
I became a fan of his when Devin Smith, given he was another rookie,
but
he was supposed to be the burner of last year's draft, and Rowe ran step for step with him and intercepted a ball in the end zone, a jump ball. Right then, I was like, all right, this kid obviously can play.
Well, to all of it, right, if you go full circle, Jim Schwartz brought in his type of guys. Right, Ron Brooks, Leotis McKelvin. Well,
Philadelphia Bills.
The writing's on the wall. He brought in 2 of his own guys that fit his defense the way he wants it fit. Okay, and guess who's the odd man out? So Eric Rowe becomes your 4th corner. So you look at it do we keep a 4th corner, or we get a guy like C.J. Smith make this team, or the other guy?
And it didn't help. It didn't help Rowe's case that Jalen Mills exceeded expectations too. Right
and Mills makes the team, and then they go out on waivers and they pick up Terrence Brooks as well. So. You're sort of like, well, do we just accept the 4th round pick and move on for a guy who's our 4th corner when we can do stuff elsewhere? So, I mean,
and then obviously you had a trade rumor that you had heard about that may or may not go down, and then so you want to go with that?
Yeah, I mean, what I was hearing Sunday was that the Broncos were shopping Aqib Talib. Now, reports out of Denver today was that there's some talks of a 3rd round pick from the Eagles and Trey Burton for Aqib Talib.
I would do that.
Where do I sign up at?
Yeah, I would do that.
And I take over all the money too. And I just want your guys' opinion. We have 3 minutes.
No, I'd be
2 hours.
I'd be good with that. I would be perfectly fine with that. Now is
that a playoff team, Michael?
Oh, I mean, with Aqib Talib, I mean, does he shut down Odell? Does he shut down Dez? Does he shut down Deshaun? Can he play receiver? I mean, it's another step.
Yeah.
It is. The whispers that I have been hearing that I'm not real crazy about were that had the Eagles gotten the offensive lineman back in the deal for Rowe, he was going to be packaged with Nelson Aguilar and a 3rd to Cleveland for Josh Gordon, and now all the Josh Gordon whispers are starting up again.
Well, who would you rather have? Let me ask you guys a question. Yeah, who would you rather have?
Well, that's the thing is obviously the Birds didn't get him, so now all of a sudden the asking price from Cleveland, if they want to give up Josh Gordon to the Eagles, it's going to cost them Aguilar and I think it was like a third and a fifth, which to me is
way too high.
It's too steep.
Yeah, I would rather if I could have. You told me I could either have Talib or Gordon. I'm taking Gordon, but I'm not giving you a third. I'll give you a fourth, maybe straight up.
Well, I think you can
or
get
a fifth and Aguilar.
Yeah, I think you can get away with a keep to leave it, giving up a fifth because you're eating the money.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why I think I would do that deal and
Josh
see
Gordon,
what Nelson Aguilar can bid.
Right,
You know?
and Josh Gordon is in the Lane Johnson department. He's already got 2 strikes.
Can you trust it? Now, talent-wise,
he's amazing, but I don't trust him.
and so is a keep to leave, just older and different sides of the football. But yeah, I think I would go with a keep to leave just because I think I can get him without giving up as much.
Right.
But if I can get myself a Josh Gordon, like you said, Mike, I mean, I would give up Aguilar and maybe a fifth. Yeah, I'll give you that.
I'm not giving up Aguilar in a third.
No, I mean,
yeah, I would give up Aguilar in a fifth.
I'll give you a 3 and 5.
Or if you want a high pick, yeah, I'll give you a fourth. Yeah.
I'll give you 4 and a 6 or a 3 and a 5.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Cleveland's all listen. The last 6 out of 9 last drafts, the Cleveland Browns, 6 of the 9 players aren't even on their roster. Well, that's all you need to know. I don't care they brought in Moneyball or not. That's all you need to know about that organization as a whole. Right. 6 out of the last 9 first-round picks are not on your roster. Beep, 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 beep. Problem.
Now, here's a point that I want to make, though. It's tied directly to what you're talking about. So the general manager of Cleveland was on record as saying that he did not see a single NFL-ready quarterback in this year's draft, which is why they did the deal to get out of number 2.
Yeah.
But then you turn around and you look at the Eagles with Carson Wentz. You want to talk about a team that does their homework? You look up and down the Eagles roster. Not only do they have Carson Wentz, they have 2 other players from North Dakota State. So you think the Eagles weren't at North Dakota State for every single game?
A lot. They definitely did their homework.
To the point where they had 2 other guys jump out at them?
Well, listen, kudos to Howie Roseman for once.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, if Wentz works out, obviously, but just the way everything's shaped out to get up that high, to get them, you know, it's really doing your homework and really having a plan, which, you know, for this organization, we haven't seen a plan in a while. Can we agree on that?
I think this plan became a whole hell of a lot better than they even anticipated it being.
No question.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, it is. And guess what? You're still in good shape moving forward draft-wise.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what? You know, I think Cleveland, you know, I think RG3 has a bounce-back season per se, and I think they did a smart job of revamping who's their general manager and the style of general manager, because you see what Moneyball did. Moneyball comes in and he wants 27 picks in his first draft because the way he looks at it is his odds are in his favor. And that's the way it is, because if you hit on 50% of the picks that they did as starters, you're in good shape.
Right.
If you get out of a draft with any organization, half of your picks are starters, you did good. I mean, listen, it's a crapshoot, boys. We know. We've been around it long enough. We see it. It's a crapshoot. So the more you have, because I'm not a big draft pick believer that it, you know, but you win in the draft. So the more picks you have, the better chance you have of nailing some of these guys. And this is why you do this. You didn't like Eric Rowe. You didn't love him, so you trade for a fourth. That can become a third if Eric Rowe plays good. Well, guess what? What's the chances you getting a start in the 4th round? They're not great. But guess what? Now you have picks back. Now you can shake and move to move up in certain drafts, you know, to go get a guy you want in different 1st or 2nd round. So it gives you maneuverability that you didn't have a week ago. You know what I mean, Sean? And this is with, you gave up all that to go up and get Wentz. Well, you essentially got it all back. So, like you said, you know, he's like a pig in shit, Howie Roseman.
Right.
You know?
Which is why when he started making these moves with Rowe, and then he was getting Klein, and he was going to move him, I was like, holy shit. Howie, he's in the office with his feet up, smoking, telling everybody, just leave me the hell alone. He probably got him and Doug are in there with 2 secretaries.
I never know what he's doing in there. How? Meatloaf. But guess what? I mean, he's wheeling and dealing like it's Major League Baseball trade deadline, right, Mikey? I mean, I've never – and, Mike, I mean, you go back, what, like 10 years longer than I do, essentially. I've never seen – as long as I've watched a game of football, I've never seen so many moves or to this magnitude of a move right before a season, a week before. I've never seen a starting quarterback switch teams like that.
I think Howie thinks the trade deadline was the first game of the year.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, in the NFL, they just don't make trades.
No, but he does.
Period.
But he does, Mike.
You know, God bless him. Like, for real.
What can you say about Howie Roseman? That he's known the wheel and deal in the trade game, but where's Howie Roseman, in your guys' opinion? Does he lack draft-wise, or do you think Howie Roseman is decent at drafting?
I think Howie Roseman is good at everything you want a GM to be good at.
Okay.
Money-wise, trades-wise, he always seems to end up the better end of the trades, always leaves the Eagles in good financial stability, but he cannot draft, which is why I think, to your point, you're always going on about this on Facebook, they need a VP in here, personnel. A guy that's going
Jaws.
to...
How about I one up that on us,
That's
Mikey?
who it should be.
How about I one up it on us? How about you're shaping a guy in one, Brian Dawkins, to essentially within the next year be your VP of player personnel.
I
or
absolutely love it.
Year and a half, whatever. But I think that he's working his way up that ladder. He came in on like a small role, and they've already upped it where he's now part of scouting. And I think it's a gradual move to put him in a position of VP of player personnel. One, you get the fan base on your side, and two, I want a dog. I want a guy who's been through the war and been through the fire because they can judge it. Listen, when you play something, right, like we all played high school sports, right? Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? We can all go out and judge high school sports talent when we're out there, right? For us who played at a college level, right? We can go out and scout college games and know different things or know if guys can translate to the college game, right? Because we've been there. We've seen it. And I think it goes like this for guys who play in the NFL. I think they get a little advantage. Now, I'm not saying you have to play to be successful because there's plenty that aren't. But I think there's something to say with a guy like Howie, to Sean's points, and stuff he's really good at. Well, if you surround him with a great VP of player personnel, a great scouting department, guess what? He don't have to do nothing. Mm-hmm. Your VP of player personnel is the guy I want making my picks. And with them in my scouting department, I want my GM trading, signing guys. I mean, that's, in my opinion, his role, right? I think you can dual roles a little bit and let a guy like Brian Dawkins.
Well, it's okay. But it's real good. I mean, what happens when you take one of the greatest players in the history of your organization who happens to also be extremely beloved by people inside and outside of the organization, who also happens to be smart as hell? John Elway, Ozzie Newsome. Now we're looking at Brian Dawkins going into that mold as well. Now, what do John Elway and Ozzie Newsome both have in common?
Bling.
Exactly.
Bling, bling.
A little bit of bling as front office members. So. And the ties that Dawkins has to both the Eagles and to Elway, that's only going to help. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely going to help. So, I mean, do I think it's a stretch? Not at all. I think it's very real.
How long do you think, Mike?
I think 2 years.
Yeah. I think one's rushing a little bit.
No, I mean, he's got to do 2 full years.
So the third year.
In the front office.
Okay, so you have
where the third year you could start jumping him up a little bit.
Okay, so where you're at Carson Wentz's third year in the league.
Where he better be ready to rock and roll.
And he's ready to rock and roll, and then you, at that point, then you implement, that's where you then implement Brian Dawkins.
But most executives, well, not most, pretty much all of them, unless you're Jerry Jones, spend their time up in the box.
Jerry
I want a guy like Doc on the sidelines.
I like when Jerry's on the sidelines, to be honest with you.
Because you know some bad shit's
going to happen.
Now I know bad shit's going to happen. But let me tell you something. As much as I hate the Dallas Cowboys, and I do, we know this here, right? That man, look at this. That man deserves, he is the NFL. I mean, Jerry Jones runs the NFL essentially. And people talk about Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft can kiss my ass, essentially, because Jerry Jones is like, everything he's done, he's built the way the NFL is shaped. If you really look back, I mean, the reason that there's more parity in the league and stuff like that was because of that 90s Cowboys run. In terms of, there wasn't a salary cap back then. So, and Mike knows this. So what Jerry did back at the old stadium is, and I think we talked about this a million times.
Coke and Pepsi.
Coke and Pepsi. He had them bid off each other. He had them both in his freaking stadium. Nobody's ever done it before. He was making so much cream that he loaded his pockets, hence now, the house that Jerry built, hence now his practice freaking facility. But in terms of
let's even just look at football operations.
Yeah, we're not even. Yeah, we're not.
I mean, when you go back to when the NFL had 10, 11 rounds in the draft.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys had the best scouting department in the league, and they were finding players, starters, in round 7, round 8, round 9, round 10, when other teams were finding, garbage in those rounds. Now, the Birds hit on a couple of them. I mean, they had Seth Joyner, they had Clyde Simmons. But, I mean, if you look back through, the history of the league, I can pretty much guarantee you the Cowboys have had more late-round guys turn into all pros than any other team in the league.
Listen, the Rooneys in Pittsburgh, we know their greatness and everything they've done. But again, I mean, you look at the way the games change, and it's almost like AI in basketball. Then there's a zone put in. You know what I mean? Then they're allowed to play zone again because nobody can cover a guy one-on-one. These guys shape the way the game's played. You look at Shaq. Start with the hack-a-shack and changing how that's played. You look at things that Wilt did that changed the game. I mean, guys who come in or owners that come in that change the game, good, bad, or indifferent, they're guys who shape it. And as much as I hate the Cowboys, in the last 30 years, Jerry Jones is the best owner, maybe in all sports. And granted, he hasn't won in a long time, but if you go back to his prime, now he's an older man now, but you go back to his prime and his heyday, I don't know if you can make an argument for a better owner in sports. I'm not talking about team. I'm not talking about dynasty. I'm just talking about strictly ownership and the way he ran his football operations. I mean, it was something special, man. You wanted to go to Dallas to play. I mean, it was a different world down there. And I hate the freaking Cowboys.
It still is a different world down there.
You can respect. You can go back now and respect that 90s team and the playmakers. And Jerry says it all the time and to this day. He said the biggest mistake I ever made was getting rid of Jimmy Johnson when I did. I should have kept him longer. But guess what? When you have a lot of egos going on, that's the kind of shit that happens. But, I just wanted your guys' opinion on that. As much as I hate him. He's done a good job of reshaping their roster a little bit with the offensive line. And guess what? 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, that's the recipe for success. Play actions. Pound the football, use your offensive line to a strength, keep your defense off the field. All things that Jason Garrett did a good job with in Dallas. And I'm just proving that I'm not a homer consistently, that I call things how I see it. And how I see it is that he's the best owner in sports. He was at one point. And I think kudos need to be delivered to the guy because how much longer does he have? We don't know. So, I'll give a little love before the season because when week 1 starts, they can go F themselves.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Right now, I give a little love. Week 1, you better lose.
You put him in the hyperbaric chamber and give him a few more plastic surgeries. We might have him for 30 more years.
Well, guess what? Let me ask you a question. Who do you guys hate more? The Giants or the Cowboys? Because I hate the Giants more nowadays. Over the last 5-6 years, I've learned to hate the Giants more. I hate the Giants. I hate the New York freaking Giants. The Cowboys, I hate them, but not as much. I don't have that hatred.
Team, I hate the Giants more than I hate the Cowboys. I hate Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
I don't even necessarily hate the Cowboys.
I agree,
that's
Sean.
Funny.
That's a great freaking point.
I was going to flip that.
Ooh.
I cannot stand the Cowboys, but I hate Giants fans because in this area, Cowboys fans in this area, they're fugazi. Okay,
yeah.
They're bottom line. But if you go down to Dallas, people down there are awesome. I mean, what's really funny is you go down and you see an Eagles-Cowboys game in Dallas. Those people are so nice. They are so – I mean, it's Southern hospitality at its finest.
It is nice. I used to get down there all the time.
Believe. And if you go down to Washington, you see
you'll fight everybody.
Well, no, actually, I would say it's just the opposite. Like,
really?
What you get in Washington is because you get the people coming up from, like, Virginia and stuff like that, you get the y'all are going to lose – you want a beer? You want a hot dog? You want to hang out with us in the parking lot? It's the Giants fans here or up in New York that you just want to cold cock.
Yeah, like Cowboys fans here, we're not in love with.
Cowboys fans here are just fake.
And
90% of them.
Giants
anyway.
fans, I hate. I agree with you, Mike. And in terms of teams, I hate. Sean, I'm right with you. I hate the Giants more. I think it became a bigger rivalry. Eli, they were the last ones to win championships with Eli, which grows the hatred. The 90-mile difference, right down the turnpike. That rivalry has gone up a notch. You know what I mean? The 2 other miracles at the Meadowlands.
That's what I was just going to say. Those two
like growing up for somebody
moments
younger.
Made it.
For somebody younger, right? You know, I grew up hating the Cowboys, like getting grounded when Tommy Hutton missed the snap to win the game in Dallas. I got grounded for a month because of my reaction. I mean, I'm talking about hysteria. I'm talking about crawling up the stairs and my mom grabbing me and trying to drag me down. You know, I'm screaming that I'm not going to school the next day. I mean, that was the passion and the hatred I had for the Dallas Cowboys. That at like 12 years old when that happened to Tommy Hutton and that was Ty Detmer days, I got grounded. You know what I mean? I was emotional. I was an emotional wreck.
Now, see, it's interesting that you said that, though, because that is the reason that I hate the Cowboys more, because with the Giants, we've had Miracle at the Meadowlands 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
You had Herm Edwards, you had Brian Westbrook, and you had Deshaun Jackson.
We win that.
So, we win that. But that same thing has happened to us against the Cowboys too many times. You had the Tommy Hutton game. You had the game where, you know, it's a close game and you're fighting back, and all of a sudden you get like freaking Miles Austin over the top, like walking into the end zone. You get Terrence Williams over the top walking into the end zone. You had, you know.
It's funny. We dominated them there. We dominate them in Dallas.
But then they come here.
They come in here and they shove it up our ass.
I mean, there's been times when they've come here and they've just gotten boat raced. I mean,
Well, I mean, the whole Andy era, we dominated the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted Sean's opinion.
Well, that's what I was just going to say.
Because growing up, you know, obviously you hate the Cowboys, but it seems to me that
I would definitely say I definitely hate the Giants more.
Interesting.
But like that's what I was going to say. I think it's just like the competitive thing, because like my dad can't stand, like, he'll pick a fight with a random Cowboy fan that walks into a bar.
I love
like,
it.
he'll just start talking shit, and I'm just like, well, you don't even know it. Fuck, he's a Cowboys fan. Like, he could be the nicest guy in the world just because he's wearing a star on his hat.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
You don't like him, But, like, that's the way, because, like, he grew up, like, getting their ass whooped.
Yeah, me
by
too.
The Cowboys. But that's what, like, they're always like, oh, we got to beat the Cowboys. Like, I'm sitting here growing up, like watching Quincy Carter play for the Cowboys.
They stink.
I'm like, we always beat them. What do you mean?
Yeah, the Quincy Carter.
I went from,
beat
you know, when I was a little
That's
kid.
a great point.
You know, I went from Staubach to Danny White, and then there was a couple lean years with Babe Laufenberg or whatever. But then, like, Aikman, I mean, I was like at hardcore fandom during the Aikman era when it was rough.
It wasn't and it wasn't. You know, I mean, we had some big moments. You know, you talk about the Troy Vincent interception in the end zone, lateral net, too.
Flip that. James Willis interception.
That's
lateral to Troy Vincent.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes. It was a James Willis pick. That was a huge win in Dallas. And the lateral to Troy Vincent
took it to the house.
So we had some big moments in Dallas. But guess what? When the other team wins, you know, that's what happens. You know, you grow that hatred for him. And the Giants have won more recently, so you grow the hatred. But, you know.
But look at the two extremes, though. You look at Troy Aikman's first game in the NFL. The Eagles sacked him 12 times.
Yeah, well, that defense was loaded.
Beat the living hell out of him. And then where did it go from there?
Guess what? It
was tough.
They shaped the roster to
beat the Eagles.
And, listen, it was just sick. I mean, you've never seen a three-headed monster as good as that since, in terms of the offensive side of the ball. And guess what? It might be a long time before you see that kind of three-headed monster, because that was special. I mean, I hate talking Cowboys this month, but Irvin and Aikman, you know, everybody tries to do it. Everybody, to this day, tries to implement
I was gonna say the closest thing you could probably say now would be, if all healthy, Ben, Le'Veon, AB.
Close, but still not there.
Yeah, I don't know if Le'Veon's not on that Emmitt Smith level.
You know, he's not Emmitt.
I like your style.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
close.
where you're going.
It's close. I mean, I'll go Ben and Antonio, but I got to leave Le'Veon out.
But, I mean, you're talking about 3 Hall of Famers. I mean,
it's tough to match. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, you know, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith. You're talking 3 Hall of Famers.
I mean, you talk about Brady. It's Brady. Now, you can go back to another close one is Peyton, Marvin,
Edgerrin,
and Edgerrin. But still, Edgerrin James is not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So that takes it away.
He was made better by that offense.
No question. So, I mean.
You could go Warner, Falk, Bruce.
Close, but.
Close. Isaac Bruce wasn't Michael Irvin.
Yeah, close. But, I mean, Falk.
Falk, yeah.
Falk right there with Emmitt. I agree there. Kurt Warner not on the same level as Troy Aikman, in my opinion.
No, I mean, Hall of Famer, yes. On the same level as Troy Aikman, absolutely not.
No, so it's tough. Yeah. But everybody tries to implement it. I mean, the Cowboys did it with Romo, Murray, and Dez. You know, it's a great trio, but it's not that trio.
Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig. It's close.
Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Ricky Waters.
Rickey's not on that level.
You like Roger Craig better? I didn't see Roger, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Roger Craig was.
I was real young.
I mean, he was hands down. I mean, Ricky was special.
Yeah.
But Roger Craig was just. He was a different kind of running
back. And he did everything too,
yeah.
right? I mean, he catched out of the backfield well. Yeah. So now let me ask you guys a question, because I'll take shots here. Did 4 guys on the goddamn show before us sit on these effing airways and report that Aqib Talib was suspended for 8 games? Did somebody sit on these effing airways and tell the public on the worldwide leader of real effing talk that Aqib Talib was suspended for 8 games? Did this happen here?
I'm going to have to let you go hypothetical on that one. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Because a certain producer...
Simply because I have not had the opportunity to listen to that show
I'm going to have
yet.
to listen back because a certain producer said that he thought he heard that said. Now, he could have misheard it. But I would love to get confirmation that I hope these geniuses who are, professionals in the business, that they don't put out false information. Because we can Google Aqib Talib right now for the public, and I'm going to promise you, the last thing that's going to pop up on your effing news is suspension. So I'm going to search Aqib Talib right now, just because this is what I do. And I'm just going to make a point.
Is Aqib Talib suspended?
NFL trade rumors. Will Denver trade Aqib Talib? Aqib Talib trade rumors. Aqib Talib reports Denver reports they're shopping him. I mean, that's all it is. And then there's reports saying that it would be a huge mistake if they shopped him, blah, 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 blah. Is any report stating that Aqib Talib is suspended for any time?
The only thing that I have heard even remotely close to that is that they were looking at doing, or what was the Sean, help me out, the personal conduct policy. Is that with the gun in the club?
Oh, yeah.
And they were talking about it was either going to be a 1-game suspension or a very hefty fine for the personal conduct policy. It hasn't come down. It's not going to be 8 games. So where they were getting that information, I would not be able to tell you.
Yeah,
I won't be able to tell you either.
Never heard of him being suspended.
Well, I mean, I'm reading a report that he could. But nothing's going on.
I think you just have to move forward and assume he's not going to be until there's more concrete evidence. I'd be more confident in Lane Johnson getting suspended than I would Aqib Talib.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, yeah, it was about the guns. It looks likely that Talib will be available for the season opener against Carolina Panthers September 8th. So, which is tomorrow. There's reports that he could be, but there's nothing stating that he is suspended for 8 games. Now, maybe they were saying that he should be suspended for 8 games when they were talking about the trade. I don't know. Well, we'll get confirmation on that later. But I'm just hoping that we didn't report he was missing 8 games when the guy's starting week 1 of the NFL season. Just like you can't come on here and say Lane Johnson's going to be suspended for 10 because as of right now, he's not. So you could say, well, Aqib Talib, in my opinion, should be suspended for 8 games, but that's not even a suspension in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. It's 4 or 10, babe. It is 4 or 10, maybe sometimes 3 if Goodell's nice. Right, Michael?
You can talk him down a little
bit.
What's
the suspension in the league? 4, 10, right? Sometimes you get a 3 like Le'Veon Bell. Sometimes maybe you get a 2. But it's either 4 or 10. I haven't seen an 8-gamer. Have you remember seeing an 8-gamer?
No, you're absolutely right. I
taking a couple of jabs at the guys. I love to.
I actually heard a really interesting story about that whole thing the other day, though, is that the reason that it is basically 4 or 10 is because when the whole Ray Rice incident went down, and he only went 2, and they were talking about the fact that he was just way, way too soft on him. He actually made a very conscious decision that any suspension was going to start at 4 games, and he could then be more lenient and reduce the suspension, but you can't give a guy 2, and then if the facts start coming out not in the player's favor, start to extend the suspension.
Right.
So he's actually erring on the side of caution, starting out at 4, because that's a quarter of a season. And he'll basically knock it back from 4 to 3 to 2 as warranted, or from 10 to 8 to 6 as warranted. But those are his two benchmarks, the 4 and the 10.
4 to 10, and things could land.
And there is some logic behind it.
So, listen, it's been another special show.
2.5 hours commercial free.
Yeah, I mean, that takes some professionals, boys. That's a hell of a workout of you two.
And thank God
You know
there was
what I
a
mean?
table in between us. My man.
I fucking love you. All right? If we're not arguing, we're not doing our job here.
That's right.
It's it's agree, disagree radio, but all sports talk, you got to get fired up. I mean, listen, we love it. And guess what? Is there some homerism in my freaking pick? No question about it. But I try to, I do this every year. I want to look forward to something. And we just want competitiveness because we haven't had it in any sport.
Right.
Okay? So we're searching for it. So I'm looking for any way to get it, guys. That's all. I'm an idiot. I'm a jackass.
I probably owe you an apology, too.
I owe you an apology, too. I told you I was going to take my mixer and mute you and go home.
But
and that's not nice.
I told you to shut the fuck up.
Did you tell me? Yeah, I said don't tell me shut the fuck up. That's fine. You can tell me shut the fuck up.
No, but
That's the response you're going to get there.
that's all right.
Wound
I'm
up.
good with that. But no, I mean, seriously, I was going back and forth with a buddy of mine via text because he picked up Carson Wentz for his fantasy team, and he's like, who should I start, Carson Wentz or Andy Dalton? I'm like, really? We're having this conversation. You're asking me this question.
I took Wentz as the last round of my draft.
Well, Andy Dalton's
as
playing.
a joke.
Andy Dalton's playing the Jets. Andy Dalton has A.J. Green to throw the ball to. Come on, man. You're not going to take Andy Dalton over Carson Wentz. Get Clue. Semi-pro.
Yeah, you're definitely starting him.
Now,
come on.
Ask me that question again 6 weeks from now, it might be a different response.
Right.
That's what we play the games for.
Well, that's why we play the games. Because, I mean, listen, we're gonna find out about this kid. And that's going to be the exciting thing. And I think, to Sean's point earlier, he was saying how he switched his excitement level when Wentz was starting. And I think I did. Definitely. I know you did, Mike.
No question.
Maybe not. I mean, you might not have switched in terms of, success right away. But in terms of seeing the kid.
My excitement level, I'm jacked.
Yeah, and you're just, Sean, where'd you have him finishing? Where was your record around?
With Bradford, I had them 11-5. With Wentz, I had them winning Minnesota. Now I had them losing Minnesota. I have them 10-6.
You have them 10-6. I have them 10-6. And Mike,
so I went 9-7 to 7-9.
7-9. All right.
And it's a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach. I'm putting one loss on each of them.
That's fair. There's nothing wrong with that.
There you go.
Well, let me take a second and thank all our sponsors tonight. And, our poll question, which you can still vote on, who will win the Super Bowl 51, AFC, NFC. Let us know. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. A2D Radio is how you can find us. That's brought to you by Scanzano Sports. And you can find them on the web, scanzanosports.com. Every Wednesday night, Tom,
Mike,
AM,
in the PM.
On A2DRadio.com with Sean Redden and Rob Povey on the 1 and 2s. It's brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountant. Give them a call, 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300 on the web, gibsonmayer.com. And, of course, our studio sponsor, BMW of Atlantic City. Every month they challenge their sales team. They must sell 100 vehicles. Get on down there, right off exit 37 of the Parkway. Or, listen, we go online nowadays, babe. BMW of Atlantic City.com is how you can find them.
Now, Tommy, before you close it out, just real quick, let the folks know that gonna hope they enjoy the opener this week. Hope they enjoy that Monday night game against the Bears. You and I are off next week.
We're off for 2.
We're off for 2.
So, Mr. Redden, we're
Redden,
going to have to jump you on somewhere else if you want.
Mr. Redden's going to go on special assignment.
He's going to go special assignment. We're going to lock him in somewhere else. So you can hear Mr. Redden. I will still be on Sundays for Agree to Disagree. And, it's funny. We really wanted to go on early a Sunday morning and open it, but it looks like with our coaching schedules with me and Sweeps that we're probably going to be doing a 7 o'clock show in between it. So that could be fun, a little hour wrap up. But we're going to be back in 2 weeks talking all football all the time. This is why we're the best in the business.
Absolutely.
But again, thank you, Gibson Mayer LLC. You got to find them on the web, gibsonmayer.com, the best accountants in the world. Take a look. They're up here for another year with the signed and sealed delivered. And, of course, the sports outlet, too. They came back for another year. They're loving what they're getting out of us. Tell them I sent you. Frankie would take care of you. It's located right in Glendora, New Jersey, or on the web, sportsoutletinc.com.
And if you want to meet me or Jim Gibson, stop by F2 at the Wells Fargo Center on Sunday morning. Have a beer. Bring me a beer. Say hi. I'll introduce you to the man himself, and, it will be a good old time.
I love his style. He's always out and about. Sean, anything to wrap it up with?
Nah, I mean, just excited for Sunday. Got my tickets. Plan on getting my beer. And then I'm going to watch Wentz.
Degenerate putting Carson Wentz in his FanDuel lineup. I love it.
Got to, dude. You got to find the sleepers.
I love it.
What was he, like $4,000?
5.
Oh.
Even.
Well, listen, for another edition of Tom and Mike AM at PM right here at A2DRadio.com, I'm Tom Renone, Michael Mataraki, Sean Redden, Rob Povia on the ones and twos. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Friday, stay tuned, AIM Sports Showcase, The Rundown, and Philly Fan. That's Friday. Saturday, you got A2D Music, and Sunday, Agree to Disagree. Sunday, right after the 4:15 games, will be on. So that's your lineup moving forward. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a freaking blast. Peace.